There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. And you're all invited. Terror clowns, Cenobites, and chainsaw-wielding madmen. This is Modern Escapism. Hello and welcome to another week of Modern Escapism. My name is Stig and I will be your host for this episode. I have such sights to show you. But before I do that, let me introduce you to the rest of the team. First up, when you hear his footsteps coming, you better get running. It's Mr. X. Rated himself, it's Biggie.
Hello.
Say his name 5 times in the mirror and he'll appear and rant at you till you die. It's Gadget, 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 Gadget.
Will people stop disturbing me? I'm busy here, right?
And be warned, if you do watch our YouTube video this week, in 7 days, she will crawl out of the monitor and kill you. It's Candy.
Hello, I will.
And finally, all work and no play makes Oodles a dull boy. All work and no play makes Oodles a dull boy. All work and no play... You get the gist. It's Oodles.
I'm having a week off. Hello.
I thought that line was actually quite appropriate for this week.
Yeah. Don't worry. I've not been replaced. I'm just a passerby this evening. I'm just chilling. I'm relaxing.
He's having a nice chilled week off.
Yeah.
So before we get into the show, please consider becoming a patron. You can sign up at patreon.com/modernescapism. On there, you can support us from as little as £1 a month. But if you want to support us more, £7.50, the Biggie Bundle. From November, that will get you 11 exclusive or early access podcasts. That's 11 podcasts for £7.50. Can't say fairer than that.
That's maths.
Yes. For more information on that, you can head to our website, modernescapism.co.uk. But enough of that. I want to know what's been happening in the world of pop culture. So over to you, Biggie.
You may already know, but he doesn't, because it's time for Biggie's Breaking News.
Thank you very much. First up, Invincible, the much-loved comic and now adult cartoon, is now having video games officially developed. I'll eat my hat if one of them is not a beat 'em up.
You're not wearing a hat.
I'll buy one.
It has to be. It's going to be a beat 'em up, isn't it? Really,
It's got to be.
I'm not really sure what else you could do.
I mean, the problem with this is the ratio to good TV adaptations to games is quite low. So I'm not holding my breath. We don't know do we know who's doing it?
No, it was just announced that they were doing it.
Yeah, I'm going for a Mortal Kombat comic style.
It's got to be a gore fest, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if it isn't, then what's the point?
They could even do the Dragon Ball Z thing that they've been doing for the past few years, where you can fly about a little bit and then fight. You can't really do much, but you can still kind of explore. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I get to say next. Next.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I have to mention this name, I'm very sorry. Mark Zuckerberg reveals the new Quest Pro VR headset.
I thought we were talking villains later.
The Facebook owner Meta has revealed a new VR headset as part of its continued metaverse push.
So I'll put this in there because there is so much that's absolutely fucking hilarious around this. So the Quest Pro headset, it's like a mixed reality VR thing as well, but it's like slimmer. So like when you look at it, it's not like the Quest 2, which kind of sticks off your face quite a distance, or like the Rift that Stig's got. It's more like a really thick pair of glasses, which is fine, which is a good way for the technology to go. However, it costs $1,500.
Whoa.
Wow.
But they're marketing.
You pre-ordered one then, mate.
So they're marketing it for like professionals to use and like enterprise users. And apart from like a few edge cases like engineers or architects or stuff like that, I can't really see a need for an office worker to have these. But more stuff came out about it over the week. Like, for instance, there's Horizon Worlds, which is the metaverse. It's like the virtual meeting place that's trying to take on VR chat. There was an announcement that they finally put legs on the avatars. They've cracked that bit of really difficult coding, and it was an announcement thing. That your avatars can now have legs. They're not just floating torsos anymore. But the big one, and this is the one which the real reason I kind of put it in there. It's got eye tracking in there, so it can, if you're having a conversation with someone in VR, it can like track your facial expressions and where your eyes are looking and that kind of thing. It's going to be used for advertising. They're going to be looking at the kind of things that you look at and like pay attention to. That's really
boobs,
baked
mainly.
into this.
Lots of boobs.
Well, it's more the fact that so Meta are charging a lot of money for this headset, which is then going to be used to just drag more data away from you. So this one isn't aimed for like the consumer market like us. It's not really aimed for gamers, it's for business. But I think this stuff will be in the Quest 3, which will be out, I think comes out next year or the year after.
Yeah, they'll push it in, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, I think I don't think I'll be upgrading my Quest 2 to another like Meta device.
The scary thing I saw about this was I was watching someone on YouTube about it today of all days, where he was saying that surgeons could use it, and I'm sorry, but if I'm scheduled for my penis reduction, I'm not having a surgeon there with VR doing it with a robot doing it. You know what I mean? I've got to do it right. Yeah, exactly.
In terms of like the expression, what if you've got a resting bitch face like me? Like that girl clearly hates everything. What should we advertise to her?
Well, it's
I'll get a load of happy pills in the mail.
I mean, I've seen what your Facebook algorithm's like anyway, but with the stuff you send me. But it's more about like looking at the stuff that you pay attention to. So it's like looking for micro expressions in your face and where your eyes dark.
Looking for Todd Howard popping up in the corner.
Yeah. So it's like
selling me things.
The example that I think The Verge did was like if they present you an advert while something is loading, which is loads of online games do. It would then be looking to see how interested are you in this. Like we're looking at your different expressions and seeing how into this advert are you reading all the text, are you looking over it, or are you kind of just like that kind of at it. And it's that further targeting of ads to you based on your face, which I think is fucking gross. So
they're going to see me shuffling around looking for my bong.
Yeah.
I mean, I put my VR on for the first time in ages today, and the first thing it said was sign into the metaverse, and I was just like, okay, whatever. Like,
did you?
Yeah.
Have you jacked in?
Already, yeah, getting me to sign into the metaverse. I think,
oh no.
Friend of the show, Tig, he said he thinks that they're trying to do Internet 2.0, that they're trying to push the next evolution of the internet.
Yeah,
it's not wrong at all. That is exactly what they're doing,
but in a corporate-owned way rather than the free internet that it is now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's going for like consumer friendly. When it first started, it was a communication device. So this is capitalism at its fucking highest peak.
I also
did you set up your avatar with a Liverpool football kit?
I was going to say that was conspicuously missing from the news there, Stig.
Actually, I did remove
today's result.
I didn't remove that one. He never put it in.
Oh,
no,
yeah, that wasn't one of the stories I removed.
Yeah. We know that because he's not a real fan.
Yeah, apparently Liverpool Football Club are jumping around saying that they're the first football team to offer you can buy their kits in Metaverse.
Oh, they really know their fan base. Really know their socialist fan base of Liverpool.
Look, you guys won today. Have that. Enjoy it.
Anyway,
let them do what they want.
Moving on away from the evil that is the Metaverse.
To another evil.
Oh, great.
Apparently, the newer versions of Persona 5 Royale, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3 Portable, which are coming to Game Pass, the PlayStation versions apparently will have no way to upgrade the path. Sorry, not have no upgrade path available. Microsoft have even managed to place embargoes on the announcements. When the ports were first revealed, nothing was allowed to be said. So basically, in a nutshell, PlayStation owners are going to have an inferior versions. I don't like the sound of this.
This is not new for the Persona series. When Persona 5 first came out, you had to pay full whack for Royal version, which is it's definitely not new for this company. I don't think PlayStation care because they know, especially in Japan, they'll just buy it. They did it with Dragon Quest. They did it with 11. They released a special version about 6 months after, people bought it again. I did.
Yeah, it's,
Like an idiot.
I mean, it's Atlas. They do it all the time. They release the same game over and over again.
Yes.
Disgaea.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same game
Disgaea
with a different
not
anime
changed
with it.
since. Yeah, it's not changed since 2. It's not changed at all.
Yeah, and like Persona 5 Royal, I mean, that wasn't a massive. Was it one extra dungeon and some quality of life changes?
One new character. Some chaff just took out of it, so it's actually shorter than the main story, but for good reason. It is the best version.
Yeah.
Sorry, sneeze. But yeah, it's the best version of it. But when Persona 5 Persona 5 came out, that came out full whack game, obviously. And was it a year? Maybe even less
I think
for
it was
Royal.
I think it was only a year for Royal.
And again, then the new stuff, you had to play the game again. You couldn't import your save. You couldn't do none of that. You had to play an 80-hour RPG again to get the next 10-hour stuff. So I've still, to this day, not finished any version of Persona 5, and I adore Persona 4. It's too long, even for me. It's too long.
Next up, Gotham Knights has been getting a bit of flack this week, and it's been announced that the PC will be the only platform to support Gotham Knights with 60 frames per second. The only platform will be the PC, making it default the definitive way to play the game.
Yeah,
Why is it a PS5? Why aren't games on the PS5 and Xbox
so weird.
automatically 60 frames per second now? Why?
There's no reason for it.
That's
Unless
stupid.
they're just trying to develop for last gen as well, are they? Or is it out
Well,
on
no, Gotham Knights isn't coming out on last gen.
It didn't come out.
So how the hell
cancelled,
can
didn't it?
how the hell can the current gen
So it's
machines not do it?
It screams to me it's really poorly optimized. I don't know if you remember when Arkham Knight came out and the PC port was utterly fucked. Yeah. I think it's gone the other way around here. But remember, this is WB Games. They're not known for putting out stable, good products.
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor still needs patching.
It does.
Good luck.
Great game.
Also,
Fucking
also
kicks you out all the time.
The previews of Gotham Knights are making me less and less interested. And apparently, it sounds like it's going to be quite dull.
Yeah, I'm not really that bothered by it. I think that Suicide Squad game looks more fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Next,
Boycott that as well.
we'll get on to Warner Brothers.
The film world has been rocked, I tell you, as the Blade production has been shut down, just as we were talking about last week. That several issues affecting the project has now been pushed back to 2024. This has also resulted in various Marvel movies also being delayed. Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four being moved to 2025, and Avengers Secret Wars to 2026.
What a shit
Shite.
show.
Knock-on effect. I think all that kind of shows is that Blade has an important part in all this.
It must do, yeah.
Massively.
It must do, because if he
There were a lot of people on Twitter saying that Blade's going to be the introduction to the mutants proper, so they can't continue without it.
Yeah, it
Which
could
makes
be.
sense with Blade's links to the X-Men.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get into other spoilers, but
0% Marvel chat.
yeah, but yeah. I, to be honest, I think it means as well that they use the right they got on the director for Kang Dynasty, innit? Yeah, that it looks like they'll probably be doing the Secret Wars as well. So
yeah,
gives them a bit longer to get that right rather than trying to rush it out.
I've got no
Less
issue
of the,
with them taking the time because, like, Thor: Love and Thunder broke my heart.
Yeah, take your time, especially with all the news recently
Time.
about the studios, the computer. What's the word?
What is the
The
word?
studios that do all the CGI. You know, lost my
Special effects.
special effects. That's where the fuck it just went.
Hosting's hard, isn't it, mate?
The special effects studios and all the shit that's come with that. So if they get longer to make these things, and that's better as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. Next up, for the one Adam Sandler fan in the world, he will be
There's two,
reunited
apparently.
with the Safdie?
Safdie.
Yeah.
Safdie brothers, who did Uncut Gems with him, for a new movie that will begin filming this winter.
Say it right, Biggie. It's Uncut Jams.
Uncut your hands.
Uncut Gems.
No, this is a good thing. When Sandler's actually given dramatic roles, good roles,
I've said this.
he's very good.
Also,
I've said this. He's a better dramatic actor than he is a comedic actor.
Also,
By a
Sandler
massive
not
stretch.
writing it or producing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's probably not going on holiday either, so he'll be pissed off, which will make the drama even better.
Kevin James and Rob Schneider won't be involved.
Rob Schneider.
Schneider.
So yeah, count me in the team of looking forward to this because Uncut Gems is
Me too.
brilliant, and I really like
I like
Bruce as well.
I like when somebody I hate can change my mind, and when Adam Sandler changed my mind on Uncut Gems and the basketball one that did, it plays with my mind. It makes me feel like I'm wrong, but then again, I think back to all them other films he's done. And I'm like, I'm not fucking wrong.
He's still doing a murder
It's
mystery
ratio.
too. Don't worry about
Back in
He
the
is
glory
crap.
days.
I like him as a
Stiggy's
dramatic actor.
rubbing his hands on this next one as well. Brendan Fraser says he's open to reprising his role as Rick O'Connell
Yeah.
in the Mummy franchise.
that. Give me
Well,
those
you got it right,
royalties. Give me those royalties.
Got it right here.
That's right. The Mummy 4, it's already pitched. It's already written. It's ready to go.
Screenplay done.
Yep.
Edited.
I'll
Done.
take my presentation, but I'll make sure it works this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pitch it to him.
Done,
and
mate. It's in the
done.
bag, mate. You've got the job. You've got the job.
You'll see it. It'll come up
And
Universal
then from that,
in
this is
association with
what I'm
Modern
thinking,
Escapism.
Stig. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking, Stig. From that, you'll jump into the MCU and you'll change it back to Phase 3, how we loved it, and you'll work on
I'll
that. And
fix
you'll be
it.
the new. You will be the new Russo brothers.
I'll soon be the new Kevin Feige.
Yeah. You'll.
And so your
bring
name
back
is
the
Stuart
glory.
Backer.
Yeah,
Stuart Backer.
Big He'll say my name wrong every week.
Yeah. Former
Now
podcast host / MCU
Yeah.
president. Stig.
If he's willing to do it, it's up to him. I know that those movies really took a toll on his body and fucked him up. So I wouldn't want to do it if it's going to cause him any more. See it if it's going to cause him any more pain. So
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could get Chris Pratt to be his son.
no, I've already cast his son, Nicholas Hoult.
Is it? Oh, I like Nicholas Hoult. He's good. He's good.
Moving on.
Now, I'm interested on this next one because I don't see this working at all. A new Naked Gun film is in the works with, believe it or not, Liam Neeson in talks to star.
I thought that was a joke.
Next.
Yeah,
Fuck
no.
off.
Can anyone actually see him delivering that sort of role?
No.
I just don't
Next.
see it.
Well, I mean, to be
Don't see
fair,
it.
Stupid.
if you remember, Leslie Nielsen was a dramatic actor before he did Airplane,
He was.
and he was funny in Airplane and the
But
Naked.
not like Liam Neeson.
No,
He was funny in that
He was a
episode of
proper,
Extras.
serious, quite dark actor.
he was, but it's just the face, and he's got that comical looking face, isn't he? When he does it so straight, that I just don't see Liam Neeson having that same impact. I just don't.
I mean,
see
I
it.
don't
It's
see it
such a
being
weird
funny in the
choice.
slightest. Like there was a charm to the Naked Gun films, and even then, the third one was that was a bit torturous getting through that one by the end of it.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Why
Wow.
remaking spoof films doesn't seem like
No.
a good idea. So just make a
Well,
new.
what was the
have the
last
right
good spoof
person.
film that came out? You know what I mean? That's the thing. Is it a
What's
genre
the-
that's dead?
What was the last good spoof film?
I don't think there was one.
Moonfall.
Yeah. Pretty solid. Solid answer.
I think that the last spoof film I saw that I enjoyed was maybe Scary Movie 2.
What about
Yeah.
that? What about that Seth MacFarlane one? That cowboy one, was that good? That was a spoof.
Well,
No,
A Million
that
Ways
got-
to Die in the West.
that-
That was shite.
Was it? I can't remember if it was good or not.
It wasn't even a
That
spoof.
was
it
trying to be a
just
spoof.
It's supposed
See,
to be a
would
comedy
you-
western.
Would you class stuff like
Oh,
Tropic
right.
Thunder a spoof?
It's a satire.
Satire,
Yeah, it's more parody, isn't it?
There's a thin line, isn't there?
Kung Fu Hustles?
Yeah, that would be a bit of a spoof. That
Kung
was.
Fu
Yeah.
Hustle,
Yeah, that's a shout. Yeah, that's a shout.
But
definitely.
we're a long way away from when like the Naked Gun and Hot Shots
Airplane,
and Airplane
yeah.
and stuff like that were
Loaded
would-
weapon.
the big deal. Or,
Dracula Dead and loving it.
Dracula Dead and Loving It's
That was
incredible.
It is good. It's really good.
Just Leslie Nielsen's canon. I mean, yeah. Liam Neeson's a great actor, but he's not Leslie Nielsen.
I think
No.
it's stupid.
I felt before we move on, I found it. The last great one is What We Do in the Shadows. 'Cause that's a spoof
Yes.
documentary.
Oh yeah,
You've done it.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
you've done it.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
You've done it.
Well, Google
Well
did.
done.
Next.
Oh,
Keanu Reeves has reportedly stepped away from the Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese's The Devil in the White City series for Hulu. Director Todd Field also departed from the project as well. So that's not going well, is it?
What a shame a bad actor's stepped away from a project.
I think Leonardo DiCaprio felt intimidated by his acting chops.
I don't think he did. He probably thought, "Oh, is this man? Keanu, you're lovely, but you can't fucking act."
I don't really know. There's not been much info about why this happened, other than it's just happened.
No.
So
I love Scorsese and Jet, so I'll take anything from him.
oh, he's doing
can't see-
a Gangs of New York TV show, isn't he?
Yes, and I love Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the stupidest films I've ever seen, but I love it.
Probably work as a TV show though.
It would.
Mm.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love him, and Keanu Reeves not being in his next project is bang on for me. Up for
It
it.
doesn't seem like a Scorsese. I mean, it's only Scorsese produced, isn't it? So
Yes.
it doesn't seem like the type of actor Scorsese would usually go for
No.
anyway. So
No, because Scorsese does that unreliable narrator thing where the narrator talks to the audience. Keanu Reeves talking to the camera like, "This is me doing cocaine. Oh, I'm on cocaine." Fucking stupid.
Whoa.
Whoa. It just won't work.
So what else isn't working? Warner Brothers Discovery is preparing for a new round of layoffs, hitting DC and Cartoon Network, along with other divisions of Warner Brothers Television Group. The layoffs are expected to be comparable to the wave that took place in August. So lots of redundancies. Lovely.
Warner
don't
Brothers
know
is
what
on
the
its ass.
fuck they are doing with this at all.
Just since Bugs Bunny died, it's been on its ass.
Well, this one's pretty bad. This one, so what the way they announced it was in a really kind of subtle way, because what they do is they're laying off about 125 people. That's across scripted, non-scripted, and current programs. But then it's merging Cartoon Network with Warner Brothers directly, which means that the head of Warner Brothers programming will be in charge of what comes out of Cartoon Network. Now, Cartoon Network, for people our age especially, was quite formative because they released different kinds of cartoons than what a lot of other places did. It was almost like a punk attitude towards cartoons. I mean, where else would you get shit like fucking Dexter's Lab or Cow and Chicken? Like
And
really
don't forget,
fucking
Cartoon Network
weird shit.
It owns Adult Swim as well.
It owns Adult Swim. SpongeBob SquarePants came out of it. Like stuff that has been like defining for so many people's lives and the way they consume media, but also like the formation of people's sense of humors, the formation of people's worldviews come through these things. Like Cartoon Network gave us like Steven Universe, which was one of the first cartoons out there that had kind of quite openly LGBT characters throughout the whole thing, across the entire spectrum of it. Warner Brothers aren't going to give you that.
No.
And most importantly, Cartoon Network was the first place to have English versions of Dragon Ball Z, which was massive for me.
Yeah, because they brought a lot of anime over and dubbed it in-house.
I think after like we obviously grew up and moved on, they still did stuff like that for kids. I'm pretty sure Adventure Time was on Cartoon Network, and
It was.
Over the Garden Hedge. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That one with the weird one. That was.
You've got to watch out though, because in Britain it's different. Because even if it's made by Cartoon Network, some shows still went on to Nickelodeon in Britain. But there's a weird crossover with who makes it and what channel it goes on in Britain. But in America, they get it all properly. Do you know what I mean? It's weird how it is.
But yeah, so it's effectively meaning he's shutting down Cartoon Network Studios, merging it into Warner Brothers Animation, which is just
and don't
not good.
Don't they own Hanna-Barbera as well?
Yeah, well, so Hanna-Barbera is under Warner Brothers Animation.
So what they're going to do with all them classics that they love to rerun that I love that still exist?
Well,
You can
I
still
used
watch
to see them on
Boomerang
Cartoon
whenever you
Network,
want.
and they'll just be on HBO Max or something like that, won't they? They'll just put them
I hope
out
so.
to that or Hulu or something. But yeah, it's just
the Cartoon Network was a really
worrying.
big part of my childhood. Like I
same,
loved a lot of
mate,
the stuff from there. So this one just particularly makes me feel quite sad.
Fucking Warner Brothers, man, they're stupid.
They're just
gonna
ruining
take
things
over.
for people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say Warner Brothers are still doing some good animation and
They
fun
are,
and
yeah.
kind of out there stuff as well. If they carry on and doing it, fine. But doesn't seem like
I would say, given their
thing.
behavior over the last
4
4 months, like it doesn't. It's not even that long. It's been a kind of cyclone of bullshit.
It keeps coming out. Oh, this is it now. Nothing else is going to happen, and then a month later, you find out that something else is happening. So
Man, where's that Samurai Jack remake as well. Come on.
Oh, that'll be cancelled. That's going to get cancelled straight away.
Fucking Samurai Jack's one of the best shows ever made, and people slept on it.
Again, another Cartoon Network one.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking joke, man. Ugh, sort your shit out.
Yep. Next up.
Next up, Blink 182 fans. The band's classic lineup returns after nearly a decade away. Blink 182's Tom DeLonge,
Yep.
Mark
you got it right.
Hoppus, Travis Barker reunite for World Tour and new music. Abby Jones and Alex Young.
Where are you? That's them, innit?
Have you heard the new song?
Blink 182. Nope.
I
don't like them.
Fucking shite. It's really, really bad.
I've
I
not
remember
listened
that
to
song
it,
they
but I'm
brought
still
out
going
when
to try and
they
get
were-
tickets because I really want to go see them
remember-
live.
Why would you
So,
want to
Last
see them
thing
live?
I can
They're
remember
terrible
from
live.
them.
I want to see them because I've never seen them live before.
I remember that song where they were running naked down the street. Is that a
What's
new
My
one?
Age Again?
Newer one?
No, that was one of their first hits, that one.
Fuck knows, mate. I don't like
It's
skater music.
1998, was it? Shit. Something like that. Or
Where are
1999.
you?
No, it was
That's
from-
the only one I know.
It's from, that was Enema of the State. It's like
Yeah, it was-
2000. Like, this
Or
is like,
something like that, yeah.
what was used
So
across
a lot
like,
of my
American
mates,
Pie and
my
stuff.
mates are proper like so fucking buzzing for this, and I'm happy for them. If you get me, I like when people get what they want, and I hope it's not touted to fuck, and I hope people get to see them because,
Of course it will be.
by all accounts, these are not like young men anymore, are they? So
It's going to be a stampede of 35 to 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Creaky knees the lot. I think.
black hoodies everywhere.
Did I
Wouldn't say
say that?
Stampede then.
Yeah, maybe a slow trundle towards the stage.
Open up
big
that
necks.
mosh pit. We can't. There's fucking backs there.
A gentle push bit. But I think they're headlining. Did I see? Because they're doing that When We Were Young festival again in
Yeah.
in Vegas, and I think they're playing that as well.
What's that festival? What's that about?
It's a load of
it's
bands from the early 2000s.
really, really good lineup.
Come on.
people
What
our
do you
age.
what do you class as really good lineup? I'm
Well,
ready for this.
Well, I mean, I'm not interested in it, but
Of course you were. You were looking at me and you were looking at going.
Right,
I
okay.
know.
When We Were Young festival, so headlined
Looks
by Green
incredible
Day
for me.
and Blink 182.
Not next
I
year's.
like Green Day.
Next year's is really punk pop.
Yeah.
No, I like
So
Green
good.
Day.
Yeah,
I'm
this is the 2023 one, which is all sold out. Also including The Offspring, Good Charlotte, 5 Seconds of Summer, 30 Seconds to Mars, Thrice, Rise Against, Ocean
No.
City Soundtrack, Bowling for Soup, Less Than Jake, Sum 41, Simple Plan, Newfound Glory, The Front
for Green Day
Bottoms.
and
The fuck
Ev-
ever
every
band
s-
is that?
Most of those bands are a lot better than Lorna Shaw.
Yeah.
um,
Oh god, they've even pulled Phoenix
You
TX
should-
out of the
you can
out of the
actually
colours.
sing along to them.
And
I
Lit,
can sing along to Lorna Shaw
Let's have
quite
one.
easily.
Lit have
No, you
one
can't.
song.
Not count. Lit. I remember Lit.
Yeah,
Are
My
they
Own
still
Worst Enemy.
alive?
Evidently.
Yeah, I remember that.
This
play-
year
Wow.
is the emo year, and next year is the punk pop year.
So My Chemical Romance and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, they're headlining. So it's My Chemical Romance, Paramore, I think Fall Out Boy are there, that kind of stuff.
Mm,
I'll love it.
I'll wait for
That
the
shit.
death metal version of
Oh,
please.
Yeah, put me down for a ticket.
We've got Mortice headlining.
To be
I
honest,
would go to that.
to be honest, that pop punk
Parasite
one,
God.
that pop punk
Yeah.
one, I had so many albums of those bands. I kind of actually would like to go to that one. I'm taking the
Ah,
piss
he's
out of
changed
it.
his mind now. Look,
I like pop. I'm a friend. I love pop punk.
We were on the
I
verge,
always said
literally
me,
on
like,
the verge
even-
of going
even if
to
you
the
don't
one
like-
this year. Like-
even if you don't like the bands, when you go to a gig, the atmosphere's still electric. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, man. I've been to see like ABBA tributes that I've been up and fucking headbanging. You know what I mean? It's fucking. It doesn't matter where you're going. If the atmosphere is electric, it's fucking still a sensational evening.
And it's in
So-
Vegas. There's other things
And-
to do if you don't like it.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby.
I mean, for this specific lineup as well, 30 Seconds to Mars are playing.
Oh,
Just
God.
go and throw bottles of piss.
Do people actually like that band? I know it's got the
do.
fallen star himself as the lead singer.
I do. I've seen him
They
live.
have got some good bangers,
Got some-
haven't they? That's it's irritating.
The- the-
Yeah.
the-
Two or
I think
three,
he's going to dress as
absolute.
Jesus again. He dresses as Jesus, doesn't he?
yeah,
And he gets everyone
they have
to
their
do
cult
this.
island.
It's so fucking. I think he knows what he's doing. Really, I think he's a genius. I don't like him. I think he's a fucking genius. He knows what he's doing. He's getting all the disciples ready to pay for t-shirts. He's
Oh,
not
speaking of
stupid, that
Jared
man.
Leto, After obviously doing his Gucci House of Gucci accent, he's now signed on to
love
do.
it, me.
He's now signed on to do the role of a German fashion designer. So he's going from Italian to German.
Oh God.
Oh, he's
Fuck's sake.
he's good. He's going to wander around like one of the fucking Germans from Allo Allo, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
He's got jawohl all the time.
Yeah.
That's fucking
God.
brilliant. I think he's a genius that I hate. You know, I'm glad he exists because I love hating him. He's a fucking stupid genius.
How they didn't ask him to do the voice for Mario, I'll never know.
He probably did, and he probably did it too well, and they thought, we can't have that, Jared. We can't have that. You're too good. You're too Italian.
I want Mark Commode's impersonation of Jared Leto's Italian accent as the voice of Mario.
Yeah, it's a beauty. That's all over TikTok. That is fucking fantastic.
Is that it, Biggie?
No, sadly this week we've had two retirements as two fantastic screen presences have passed away of Angela Lansbury at 96 and Robbie Coltrane at 72.
Those big
Absolute
bosses.
titans of the industry. Like, Cracker. It's Cracker, innit?
Oh, I love
Yes.
Cracker.
Cracker was
So
fucking... Like, me growing up, like, do you know when you're young and your parents put something on and you think, I hate this, and then after a while you're like, I am into Cracker and I'm 10-year-old. I love it. It was one of them. Same with Heartbeat. I used to fucking love Heartbeat even though I was a kid.
I used to like Angela Lansbury in Murder, She Wrote as well. It was quite an entertaining show.
Have you ever watched that recently?
As mad
an
as it
adult?
was.
No, mate. Murder, She Wrote's fucking genius. It's like how they came up with the killer or the murderer or whatever to solve the crime. It's just batshit. It's just as if she's got like eldritch powers. She just can see through people. She wasn't human. She's sensational in that.
I got some great facts about her this week. That she is nominated for an Oscar for her first film role, Gaslight.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Oh.
No, Gaslight. So that's pretty impressive for your first film feature to be nominated for an Oscar, and also that when she found out that her daughter had been mixing with this weird person that she didn't agree with, she up and moved her whole family to Ireland, and it turns out that person that her daughter had been mixing with was Charles Manson.
Oh, fuck me.
Wow.
Well, she called
Good
it.
instincts, then.
Yeah.
Good instincts.
Yeah.
Very, very good instincts. But it was funny because we talked about the Empire podcast as well. As like how she didn't just move them to like a different part of America. She went nope, and just to make sure that her daughter did not fall in with this crowd, she just up and moved to the other side of the world.
There's no way Charles Manson had a passport anyway. He wouldn't have been
way.
given one.
Yeah, I obviously know. For me, it's like Mrs. Potts as well. Like when I was a kid, and for Robbie Coltrane. I first saw. I think my first memory of him was in GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
GoldenEye.
and then for Hagrid, and he's perfect at Hagrid. Like that's how you see Hagrid, and that's when I read those books to my daughter. I just played Robbie Coltrane's Hagrid. That's because he did such a good job of portraying that character. And there was a documentary that came out at the start of this year where it was all like looking back on Potter after 20 years, and he sat there, and his last bit he sort of talks about is, he said, these will live on forever, and paraphrasing here, and he said, 50 years time, Hagrid will still be here. He's like, I won't be here, but Hagrid will. And when you kind of look, and he's been ill for quite a while now, apparently, for the last few years, and when you watch that clip back now and kind of see his face, and it's like one of those moments where he kind of realizes that his time is actually coming up. And it was really sad to sit and watch that. So,
massive body of work.
Yeah,
absolutely. Both of them titans, weren't they?
Yeah. Right. Well, it's been a bit of
the news there.
It's been a bit of a shitty and somber news this week, hasn't it? Not much good stuff really, but just happens to be one of those weeks, unfortunately. So we're going to get into the Nexus and talk about what we've been up to. Try and cheer ourselves up and cheer you all up. So first up, we will go with Gadget. Gadget, what have you been doing?
Plenty of things. Main thing, however, is my Steam Deck arrived this week. So as is tradition, when someone buys a Steam Deck and you've glued yourself to the Parcel Force tracking for a week for it to get delivered from the Netherlands, you install everything in your Steam library and try it all out and see what works.
Have you not played anything for a long time yet?
Well, to be fair, I've honed in on kind of 3 things that I am playing, and I'm just kind of cycling through them. But this will be stuff that I go towards the finish one. So the 3 things I've been playing. So I wanted to get into the emulation side of it because Steam Decks are very good for emulation. So the first emulator game I'm playing is a game. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's a little one, went under the radar. It's called Metroid Prime.
Ever heard of it?
Nah, sorry.
Some shite Nintendo game, I presume.
Well, you see,
I bet it's a fucking girl that you play as well.
Oh, it is, yeah. It's got a gun for an arm and everything. It's so unrealistic.
Gross.
And they're like, women have guns these days. Proper sci-fi.
Girls can't shoot. We all know that.
No, so I never had a GameCube and I never had a Wii, so I never really got to play Metroid Prime at all, ever. And I didn't actually really properly play a Metroid game until last year when Dread came out. But everyone talks about these being the greatest things since sliced bread, and fuck me, it's really fucking good.
Prime's great, in it?
It's really
so good.
Well, the thing is,
so good.
With the way that you emulate things on the Steam Deck, this one's using a program called Prime Hack, which is a modded version of the Dolphin emulator. So this one puts some new stuff into it. So it gives you the full 60 frames a second, gives you up-res textures and like up-res at the size of the screen. It also gives you twin-stick aiming, which the original didn't have.
Get.
So it feels like a modern shooter. And it actually really does feel like a modern shooter. It's so good and so fast. And the levels are so intricately laid out. It's absolutely unreal. The second one I started playing was because, you know, I like my turn-based tactics. Isometric view, moving my little pieces around squares. I've been playing Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, which is it's a...
Nerd!
Yeah. And it's
nothing.
It's basically Warhammer's take on XCOM, and you are playing as the Adeptus Mechanicus, which are the tech priests and the sciencey kind of guys within the Warhammer 40k lore, who are all kind of mostly machine with little bits of person still attached to them. They've like modded themselves from cyborg so much that they are more machine than anything. And you are like taking on the
half machine, half candy.
Sort of, yeah.
Look at her face.
I was pouring a drink.
I was pouring more syrup.
And it's
Oil.
It's basically if you enjoy XCOM 2, you'll enjoy this. It's it's dungeon hunting.
Don't say that. I don't want to have to buy it, mate.
We can get it on the Switch.
Don't want to have to buy it.
You can get it on the Switch.
I know.
It's a really good game. You'll enjoy it. And the other one,
you enjoy it when you get your Steam Deck hoodles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Yeah, the one that I've played the most of, however, that I'm enjoying, and I don't know why I've launched onto this one because I could play it on my PC, I could play it on any number of things. It's a simple game, but I've been playing Cuphead.
Cuphead's sensational.
Yeah, and I've had Cuphead for ages, and never really kind of clicked with it. Like it never, like always enjoyed it when I tried it, but just got to a point and I just kind of put it down. I'm now for the first time I've now gotten to kind of the end of the first of the 3 islands in it. And
nice.
Cuphead's so fucking good. It's made by a company developer called Studio MDHR, and it is a boss rush game. And the thing with the game is it hangs entirely on its art style because it's designed to look like is it Max Fleischer films?
Fleischer,
yeah. And everything is hand animated. Everything is in that kind of 1930s, 1940s cartoon style. It's a bullet hell at times. It's cripplingly difficult on some of the fights. But what I discovered, so the Steam Deck has 4 buttons on the back of it. If I just map one of them to fire, I can just hold that and never have to take my finger off jump and map one of the buttons on the back to dash. I'm cheating at this game. I'm finding it so easy because I never have to move my thumbs.
It's not cheating if it's an accessibility option, pal. Don't worry about that, mate.
Well, yeah, it's being able to be constantly holding fire without having to like move my thumb around to like jump or dash or anything like that has basically made the entire start of the game trivial. But it is good. The soundtrack is amazing. The art style is fucking gorgeous. It's so beautiful, this game.
One of the best looking games ever made.
Yeah, and I think it's the combination of the art style and the way it's animated. Everything's very elastic and flexible and very expressive, and boots have faces for some reason. Because
bullets have faces.
Bullets have faces at times. And it's. I mean,
who do you main? Do you main as Cuphead or Mugman?
I'm Cuphead. You got to go with the
I'm
title
up my
character.
main. It's perfect, that. I
And
like Luigi better than Mario. It's just this is the kind of guy I am.
yeah, I know, but you're more of a follower than a leader.
That's right.
Fair Luigi.
Luigi's better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been out for years. It's on everything. I think you can even get it on iOS.
You can. Have
No,
you tried
sorry,
the
Mac OS. You can get it on it. It's on the Mac. It's that ubiquitous. You can buy it on a fucking Apple Mac.
Are you thinking about getting the Delicious Last Course? Because I think it's some of the best levels they've done.
Yeah, well, if I get it finished, I will. Yeah, like I say, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it, and I think what's making me love it most on the Steam Deck is you can pick it up. It only takes like each boss fight. When you beat the boss fight, it takes you a minute, but it takes you an hour to get to that minute. But it's good to just pick up the deck and play it, and then put it back down again. You know, it's almost like it was designed to be a handheld game without really considering it.
Yeah.
It's the power of the deck.
So good.
The power
Power
of
of the
it's
deck in
great.
your hand.
But
Get your deck out for the lads.
Honestly, it's so good for that.
Yeah. I absolutely
just,
love the
just
Steam
pick
Deck.
it up and play like 20 minutes or something, but because you're not going to go fire your PC up or like set it up on your TV, and if your other half might be watching some TV, but you want to sit there together, you can just but you're not bothered. You just want to kind of be in the same room. You can just do that.
You mean you want to use her ass as a pillow like I do?
Yeah.
Well,
That's all I do.
Also,
The only thing
the main reason for me getting a Steam Deck is my gaming PC is in the place where I work. So if I want to play video games on the PC, I've got to sit in my office and play them. And it's just like, I'm trying to, with working at home, I need that separation from it. So most of what I would play on the PC will run on the deck fine. Like, I'm not buying new games on the PC. Like AAA stuff I'm buying on the consoles because I have a PS5 and an Xbox and
exactly.
play it on a 5-year-old PC, But
Not for Gotham Knights, though.
Yeah, but the quirky indie stuff or the stuff that just doesn't come to the PlayStation, the stuff that kind of doesn't really work that well, like CRPGs. Like I test out Disco Elysium and Pathfinder and stuff like that, and they work really well on it. So that kind of stuff I will play on the deck. And I've got by the time the set will have arrived, I've got the stock coming, so I can get it up on my telly as well.
So get your fucking Switch sold now.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If I hadn't been full of cold this week, I would have already sold it.
Get
the
in.
thing I
get
found
rid of it.
great with it as well is not just the games you mentioned, but it is like the kind of the backlog of older games where it's cheaper on Steam. You just get it on there. Like, does it work on Steam Deck? Yes, it's £3.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get it. Do you know what I did this week? Because I'm an idiot,
Go on.
and I'll probably never play half of them anywhere. So I was gifted a Resident Evil 5 code.
Right.
And so I went and bought Resident Evil HD, Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 7. Because I already have
a complete set.
I already have 2 and 3.
So you should, mate.
I haven't bought 4 because the remake's coming out, and that will.
Yeah.
What I probably will do is play that on the console, and then when it becomes cheap on Steam, whack it on there. So
yeah, that's the correct way to do it. I mean, just
cost me like £12 to get all of them, or something like through cheap, foreign codes. So.
The thing is, consoles don't have humble bundles and stuff like this, so it's a no-brainer for a consumer.
Yeah,
and I want one just so I can have that clout post on Twitter that I've got one, and then I'll sell it.
Well, I finished Monkey Island on it, and I probably wouldn't have done it as quick if I was sat at my PC doing it.
Yeah,
like when we went to Podcastle, you wanted a couple an hour away from everyone, so you sat and played deck on your own, played with your deck. Got your deck out. I love these puns. I love them.
So I bought the Steam Deck and I played a lot of video games.
Yeah. Well, speaking of video game, I shall go next. Like I said, then I completed Monkey Island. Fantastic. Absolutely loved it.
So good.
I didn't think it
Game of the Year contender.
Stuck the landing, but then Gadget kind of said something to me. I went, actually, yeah, that does really work really well. And actually does work. And I kind of come around to Gadget's thinking on it.
Yeah.
So far, yeah, for me, definitely. I still haven't completed Elden Ring yet, so I can't really.
You probably won't.
I will do, just not anytime
no,
soon.
I mean not this year. Not this year.
Oh, definitely not this year. There's too much other stuff coming out.
Yeah.
So what I have been playing is a game that I've been looking forward to playing for ages, and I got a review code for it this last couple of weeks ago because it came out on Steam. Is Kena Bridge of Spirits.
Ooh.
Ah, yeah.
So Kena Bridge of Spirits is an action adventure game by Ember Lab. It was released on the PS5 and Epic exclusively, but it's just recently come to Steam. This was a game that I remember seeing way back at one of the early state of plays and really liked the look of it. And so far, my time with it hasn't disappointed at all. So the game is set up in that deceased people can remain between the physical and spirit worlds if they are traumatized or feel unfinished, and the task of the spirit guide, Kina, is to help them move on. So you play as Kina, the spirit guide. No, it's not really.
Casper.
What's that for day?
The game pretty much throws you in like head on into this world. Like there's not much of a backstory, other than some kind of text explaining what the spirit world is, and like gives you a bit of exposition, but not much. And then from there, you just take control of Kina, and you're kind of thrown into the forest, and you see that it's been corrupted with this rot. And then, like, kind of within the first 5 minutes, you meet this masked spirit. You find out like is the reason for this corruption. So you know that he's gonna be the end boss. Basically, you don't fight him there. He just kind of fucks off, and you fight some of his minions. So it's like a short but brief introduction to the game, and then you're on your way. First things first, this game is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful to look at. I've predominantly been playing it on my PC because it doesn't run as well on the Steam Deck. It is verified for the Steam Deck, but it really struggles. Like frame per second, it's fine, but there's a lot of texture popping and some of the jagged edges around when you move, like a hair looks a bit funky. So if you could play it on a PS5 or on a really good PC, play it on that because you'll get more out of it graphically. So yeah, it's this Ember Labs. This is their first game, and they're actually an animation studio, and it really shows because this game looks like Studio Ghibli and Pixar had a baby.
Ooh.
Like it looks amazing, like everything around it, like the character design and all the kind of the forest and all the little details and that. It's really beautiful. The music as well.
I think when it was revealed, that was because we saw it at a PlayStation show thing. I think that's what we said. So it looks like if Pixar made a video game.
Yeah, it pretty much does. Like one of the characters I bumped into tonight, he took off his mask and was like, he looks like he's straight out of a modern day Pixar film. So the music as well, absolutely amazing. It features what is the traditional Balinese musicians. It's got a mixture of like bamboo instruments like rain sticks, xylophones, wind chimes, violins, panpipes, all that kind of like really beautiful atmospheric stuff you'd expect for a forest game to do with, it's dealing with spirits.
Yeah.
The game's quite linear. It's not groundbreaking, this game. It is quite straightforward, but it's still really fun. And the story and the visuals and the music kind of pull you through it. So the game is linear in its approach, but it has like not open world. It's like more open map areas and various different sections. Like an old 2D Zelda game,
right,
where you kind of move from all of a sudden you're in a village and then you'd go over to this area of the map and you're in like a desert. But the game was always pushing you in a linear direction, really. So it's kind of like that. But then it also invites you to look in all like, do discover things like, so you look in all the like, nooks and crannies and climb down ledges, and you find like these little creatures that are also called rot. They are little black like sprite creatures that help you out. So what they can do is they help you in fights, they help pick up objects, move things. You can also get them to interact with, I can't remember what it's called now, but there's this orb, and it helps you kind of destroy the red rot. They're little cute creatures, perfect for selling merchandise, you know what I mean? But they look like those. Have you seen Spirited Away? They look like the suck creatures in that.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Badass.
But you find, when you're kind of traveling around, you find them, you find gems and spirits. Like the gems and the spirits help you unlock abilities, like clothing items, so you can buy like little cute hats for your rots. So I've got little rots running around with like mushrooms on the head, little fox ears, little like flowers and stuff. They're a proper little cute, and you can sit down and play with them as well. You can dance with them and like sing to them and stuff like that.
So have you
kind
just
of
been
stuff.
playing this game going, oh.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm about to go on the pre-order screen right now, I think. When's it actually coming out?
It's been out for ages.
It's been out for about a year. It's only just come to Steam.
It's out on a lot of things, isn't
Oh,
it?
okay.
Yeah, so I've been playing it on Steam. But yeah, you do have like little side quests. They're not like side quests that you're given. You'll pick up like an item and it says like return this to a spirit's home, and it helps them release them from, that's the reason that they're still stuck in this world, because they're missing that item at their home. You drop it down, it kills the rot and sends them on the way. And you've got teleporters situated around, so you can kind of fast travel between the different areas if you want to go back and like discover stuff. Because if you load up the map, you go to an area, it does tell you like there's so many rots here, there's so many chests, there's so many gems. Kind of tells you if you're a completionist, you can go off and explore and do that. Like I said, it's quite simple, formulaic, but it does have, and I hate doing this because this is a modern day thing for everything, but it does have a hint of the Soulsborne to its combat.
Ooh.
Everything's got to.
The controls are mapped identically from games. So R1 is light attack, R2 heavy. You've got L1 is block on with R3, B to roll.
Good.
Kina effectively has like a stamina bar for when she's blocking. But that's about it. That's all you kind of get. That's similarities to Soulborns. So don't let if you are a Soulborn fan, don't let that put you off.
Why not?
It is literally just kind of the combat that's kind of similar, because it's clearly taking inspiration from other games, like I mentioned already, like 2D Zeldas, Souls for the combat. The platforming is very Tomb Raider reboot-esque. You like jumping up and down ledges and jumping over and grabbing onto things. I'm playing on normal as well, and it's still quite difficult in areas. So it's got a good variety. There's like 5 different difficulties on it, and one's just a story mode, I think, where you just go around and it's like one-hit kills on stuff. So, but yeah, I'm just really, really enjoying it. The boss battles, they also feel really distinct. There's plenty of them in there. They all have great music. And what I do really like about this is some of the bosses come back into just regular combat. So the first boss that I struggled with to start with, that kind of baddie just turns up randomly with all the little minion kind of baddies now. But because I've defeated him and I know how to defeat him, now I know when his tails are, and I can just kind of whoop his ass really easily.
Oh, they really have been playing FromSoft games.
Yeah, so it's a nice way to bring it back. Yeah, so this is Ember Lab's first game, so you can tell that's probably why they've lifted elements from a lot of other games. Just because visually they know how to do it, but gameplay-wise, they're probably still learning and just lifted things. Let's take that, and that and put it into this game. But yeah, really good. I really enjoy it. I recommend, if you've got a PS5, probably play it on that, unless you've got a beefy PC.
I've just bought it, mate.
I have too, literally, as you were talking.
So, yeah. So, cheers for that.
That's me. Oh, I keep forgetting Oodles. Oodles, what have you been doing?
I've been lied to, mate. I've been lied to by the gaming hype machine. Super Meat Boy is one of my favourite games of all time. Most favourite, precious, love Super Meat Boy. Everything about it. A sequel came out, I don't know if it was this year or last year, called Super Meat Boy Forever. They lied to me, guys.
It's not it's not a proper game, is it?
It's not fucking it's an endless runner.
Yep.
Why was I lied to like this? I'm fuming.
To be fair, there was a lot in that, the marketing. A lot of people were pissed off because the marketing didn't say this is an endless runner. It was always marketed as another Super Meat Boy game.
I'm fucking fuming. I'm absolutely fuming. I started playing it this morning thinking, yes, this is going to be good for the Nexus. Love Super Meat Boy. I love everything about it. It's gone cheap. I'll get this. I've just been completely it was like 30 quid originally. I've got it super cheap. And I was just full on lied to. It's not the main thing I want to talk about. I just wanted to bring it up because I'm fuming. It doesn't mention it in the notes at all. in the game notes or anything. And I started playing. I'm like, oh, this must be the tutorial where it's running for me. But no, Super Meat Boy just keeps running without your input. It's a one-button game. Great for accessibility reasons, but proper pissed off. But yeah, the main thing I want to talk about is I finally finished probably like one of my top shows this year that not many people are talking about. We mentioned it on this show recently. I know Candy's been watching it. Welcome to Wrexham. I finally finished it.
Yeah, me too.
This show is sensational. Now, you don't have to be into football, do you, Candy?
Nope, not at all. I'm not in the slightest, but really enjoyable.
So it's a docu-series chronicling the purchase of and stewardship of Wrexham AFC, one of the professional football's oldest clubs. So it's Northern Wales. They're in the conference, or what they call the what do they call it now? They don't call it the conference anymore. They call it the Vanarama National League, which is just a nicer name of saying you're the bottom. You're the fucking worst. It's the lowest form of professional football in Britain. To the point where some of the players have.
You make that sound like
jobs.
such a derogatory way of saying it. It's like, sarcasm is the lowest form of humour. This conference is the lowest form of football.
Well, it is, mate. Some of these players have to have 2 jobs just to support their lives. You know what I mean? They don't get paid a lot to do this. And I don't know if you've heard of these 2 gentlemen that have purchased this club. A guy called Rob McElhaney from quite a nice show called Always Sunny in Philadelphia. We've never really talked about that show on this podcast before. And a cute guy called Ryan Reynolds. I don't know if you've ever heard of him either. But these 2 nobodies, these 2 superstar billionaires decided to buy this club. And the show just like documents how and why they bought this club. The main reason they bought it probably is hubris that they can. But then it slowly turns out to be these men wanted to put something back into a community that were lacking. Like, I think it was 15 years they've been in this conference, and the town of Wrexham was just on its ass because the football was one of the main things about this town. And they've been trying to turn it around throughout the pandemic. That's the problem. They decided to do this just as the pandemic hit. So, as us football fans know, wasn't really good, was it, during the pandemic? There was not a lot of atmosphere, let's just say, in the stadiums for one, or anybody. And yeah, it just basically, if you know about football, you know exactly what happened to Wrexham AFC and stuff. And did they get out of the division or not? I mean, it's up to you to either watch the film or you already know. But it's just a really good, heartwarming tale where football's kind of the background of individuals that live around this place, and Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney themselves and stuff. And I don't know, there was just something really endearing and special about it. Like, they narrated it and stuff, and they took piss out of each other a lot. And this blossoming bromance that they got, because these 2 had not met when they bought the club. They'd not met in person, and they met after they purchased the club. And it's just, I know.
Why did they get involved in buying it? That's the bit I don't understand.
It was Rob McElhaney's idea, and there were apparently it doesn't go into why they chose it that much. They just wanted something a bit not too expensive, because it wouldn't have been that too expensive to buy a failing club. And yeah, it's a bit like a real life rags to riches. Like they even had to get like some players from higher divisions to take a bit of a dive and join this club just to boost that club up and stuff. And then you've got the players that are already in that team thinking, oh, they're getting paid more than me now. So those new players that have come in, they have to like ingrain themselves into the fabric of what that club means. And it's not about this, it's not about that. And it's just, I don't know, there's something human about it. And it's really slick. And it's just a good document. I mean, like, I'm fascinated to know what Candy thought, even though she don't like football at all, because there's a few episodes that is just a football match.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that kind of is almost secondary. It's like Ted Lasso, isn't it? You don't need to like football. But what I really loved about it was the way that you can see it becoming like almost a joke between them. You know, oh, we bought this football club, it's going to be really easy.
Yeah.
And then they like start becoming really, really passionate about it. And it does, you know, consume a lot of their time. And they are over quite often. And you can see that they are actually invested in it rather than just, you know, just off the cuff, just do it for a laugh kind of thing. But they've obviously they've obviously brought in some really good sponsors for the team as well. I noticed everything was totally sponsored by TikTok, exactly, and Aviation Gin and everything. So you can understand why they. I mean, I I don't know if it's some kind of like a sort of tax write-off thing maybe for them as well in terms of advertising. But yeah, it just blossoms, doesn't it, from nothing really into the actual...
It's the fact that, like, when they got the club originally, the old manager was just shit, and they had to get Phil Parkinson, one of lower league managers of quite renown and success. They had to get him to come across as well and take a pay cut, and everyone's just like doing a lot of sacrifice. They even got like Humphrey Kerr, who is an actor, and he's been in some Always Sunny in Philadelphia episodes. They got him to be the director of the club because they didn't have anyone else to do it. So an actor is now the director of Wrexham Football Club, and it's still, to this day, they still own it. They're not sold up or anything like that, and it's still an ongoing thing. I think the last episode is only at the end of last season as well. So, you know what I mean? It ended in 2022, and it's just, I don't know. I don't think you need to be into football. You need to be into people to watch this. And I've been to Wrexham so many times. The town's a lovely town, but last time I went to Wrexham, it was run down and stuff. And by all accounts, that town is booming now. So what they've brought, just as the community themselves, like everyone's wearing Deadpool clothes going around. Do you know what I mean? Walking around, it's like they've been like honoured as honorary Welshmen and stuff like that, haven't they? It's fucking. I don't know. It's just really nice, and it's a great show, and it's ended, and Disney Plus had it on, and it was, I think it's FX that made it. And they did this lovely thing where they released 3 episodes a week, which was fucking sensational.
There are a lot of episodes as well, isn't there? There's about 19, I think, but they're all bites.
Yeah.
They're like 20 minutes each.
20 minutes. I think you should watch it, even if you're not into football. But if you are into football, there's some good, like, nail-biting moments. Like, trouble is, I'm into football, so I knew the scores before the actual. I knew what was going to happen, and I know what happened to the team and stuff. I was like, it's a shame, but. Yeah, it's really good, and you really get to know the lads and stuff like that, and it's just, watch it. Welcome to Wrexham. It's good. That's my main thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I will watch it at some point, I think.
I think you'll love it.
So.
Yeah, well, it's just, I like both Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, and football.
Oh, they're in it all the time.
Yeah, I'll get on there at some point. Biggie, what about you?
Well, I hope you're ready for this, because I have my finger on the pulse. I've actually watched something current. I have.
Ooh.
Yeah. I got Netflix to work and everything.
Did you go back to watch Ticket to Paradise again?
Yeah, he went again.
No.
Went again. Director's cut.
No. So this week I've been mostly watching The Midnight Club, which is an American horror mystery thriller on Netflix. It's by Mike Flanagan, who's involved with The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass.
A new Mike Flanagan?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When did this come out?
About a week or so ago.
Fuck off.
And it's an adaptation of the 1994 novel of the same name.
Yeah.
And it basically is set around a group of 8 close, terminally ill young adults that reside in the Brightcliff Home Hospice, run by an enigmatic doctor. They meet at every midnight each night to tell each other scary stories. One night they make a pact that the first one to succumb to the disease is responsible for communicating with the others from beyond the grave, basically proving that there's something on the other side. After one of them dies, bizarre occurrences begin. It stars Iman Benson, Adia, Igby Rigney, Ruth Codd, Aya Furakama, Anara Shepherd, William Chris Sumter, and Sarayan Sapkota as the patients. Heather Langenkamp, if you remember her from A Nightmare on Elm Street, plays the enigmatic doctor. Zach Guilford, Matt Beadle, and Samantha Sloyan have recurring roles. The first episode of the series broke the Guinness Book of World Record for the most scripted jump scares in a single episode of television, which apparently counted at 21 jump scares.
It was all just one jump, though, wasn't it, really?
It was really clever.
It would not make you jump. If something's like constantly like jumping out at you, it kind of loses its effect a little bit.
Yeah. But for me, it's kind of got Stranger Things vibes because it's set in the early 90s with music to suit. And you get to really warm to the 8 kids in the hospice who all play their roles really well. They all have different terminal diseases. Like the main character, she's got thyroid cancer, there's leukemia, AIDS, or it's a mixture.
So it's a proper
And,
uplifting show to watch then. Fuck
Yeah,
hell.
it seems it.
Well, you say that, but with standout turns from Iman, Igby, Ruth, William, Ian, Suri, and for myself, the sadness of the young kids' illnesses is really dealt with the kind of like the right balance of sympathy and ownership. Because the idea is that with them being at the hospice, instead of them being all sad and sort of, naturally having to deal with potentially their fate, they all sort of warm together and just sort of try to see each day out as a fresh day that they're still alive. And I think it does that really well. The spooky tales are all told from the viewpoint of one of the characters, with something similar to what's happening to them in life is relevant in the story. And each story is pretty cool. The main character, Lonka, she basically kind of refuses to accept her fate and believes that the former resident was healed at the home, and she's searching basically for a cure for all of them. But I really enjoyed it. I've watched all 10 episodes. I don't know, did you finish it, Candy?
Yeah.
She finished
So-
everything there.
My only quibbles with it really is that it had a bit of padding, in my opinion. I think 10 episodes was maybe a bit too long, and the ending's a bit ambivalent as well. It's just kind of, it almost feels like it's set up for another series, and I don't know if I want another series. I felt like it could have just been a one-off and just left at that.
I really struggled with the ending for that exact reason, because there hasn't been another season announced, and the writer came out and said, because it does leave some unanswered questions. He says, well, if we don't make another season, I'll put it on Twitter, and I just have one that works, because like you said, Biggie, I think it works perfectly. And Mike Flanagan's recent shows, they all have been one season wonders, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've worked really well.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a surprise that things weren't necessarily resolved. But
I'm
it's-
surprised. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, in terms of, if you've been enjoying the recent Mike Flanagan series, like Haunting on Hill House, Haunting with a hill, it's not quite. I would say it's aimed more towards kind of a tween sort of teenager sort of market. It's not as scary as the most recent ones, and I think that's why I also got the kind of Stranger Things vibes. But one girl in particular, I can't remember her character's name, but the Irish girl in it was just such a standout actress, and
Anya.
I had to look her up on just to see what else she'd done, and apparently they found her on TikTok. This was her first acting job.
You'll find me one day.
Well, we can only hope.
But I think a lot of the youngsters are really good. I think a lot of them will go on to big roles, especially the lead as well, Iman Benson. She's fantastic. But I think a lot of them really do stand out well.
I'm really surprised this has come out, because I thought his next project was Fall of the House of Usher.
That's also coming out, and actually stars a few of these actors as well.
Is this a proper one of his, Mike Flanagan? It's just this has just come out of nowhere. This.
It did.
Why the fuck? What the fuck? This is.
But I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, it does give those Stranger Things vibes. It's kind of almost like it's been, let's do something like that by using a novel based on something to base it on. But yeah, I really thought it was quite cool. Some of the stories are quite clever, quite funny. There's quite a bit of humour in there at times as well. It's a bit more serious than Stranger Things, but it's along that sort of line.
I'm glad this is out. I've got something to watch now.
It is worth a watch. The stories actually that they tell, they're all based on the stories of the same author that wrote the main book as well. I think it incorporates.
Yeah, I've read the book.
Yeah, I think it incorporates like something.
He's written 27 books.
I think it incorporates something from all of them. I think that's what I read. Like every part of one of the books is put into this series.
I read an anthology. I've read an anthology of Midnight Club, and I've read a modern take of Midnight Club as well. So I wonder if it. Why is this just dropped out of thin air? I'm fuming.
No, you got someone to watch this week then.
I say it's a nice present for you.
It's a little present. I've earned this. I'm happy you brought that up, mate. Thank you.
It's because you've been busy. You haven't noticed new stuff dropping.
Yeah, that's probably it, mate.
Excellent. So, Candy, do you have anything else on top of that?
I do. I have a big opinion about something that I watched this week. I watched Clerks 3, and it's something that I've been looking forward to, how dare you, for about 15 years.
Why do you keep giving that man money?
Well, let me explain. So, Clerks 3 obviously is the third installment. It's the third and final installment in Kevin Smith's Clerks trilogy. The first one was released in 95, followed by Clerks 2 or Clerks, I should say, being as we're in England, but Clerks for argument's sake, in 2006. I think it's the 7th film in the Viewersk universe, which is basically the Link sort of cinematic universe. Basically every
The
film.
original cinematic universe.
Yeah, exactly. The Smithiverse. Basically, it's all the films that Jay and Silent Bob are in. It stars Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson once again as Dante Hicks and Randall Graves, and they're just joined by the usual Kevin Smith brigade, basically. But
So they got him back, though, because he said he'd retired him who played Randall, didn't he?
yeah, and that was.
I bet they've paid him a pretty penny.
Well, I mean, possibly. I know a lot of the actors came back after Kevin Smith did have his heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
But I think there's also been several rewrites of the script of Clerks 3 as well. I think this is like the 3rd iteration of a possible film, and obviously this maybe is the one that struck a chord. So this one, and if you know anything about Kevin Smith, you'll recognise some things here. So the synopsis reads: after suffering a massive heart attack, Randall enlists friends and fellow clerks Dante, Elias, Jay and Silent Bob to help him make a movie about his life at Quick Stop. It's back in the Quick Stop, guys. It's not at movies this year.
Is Elias the guy, the one ring to rule them all? Is that him? That is a fucking great. That's a great joke.
And they've
I like Clerks 1 and 2.
They've got him up in this one as well, and it's just absolutely. I just love it.
I liked him. He could know about the sex goblin or something like
Pillow Pants.
Pillow Pants. That's it. That was fuck. I hadn't seen that film in about 15 years.
Well, please watch it again because I absolutely loved this film. I love Clerks 3. I know Kevin Smith is not for everyone. I know not everyone's a fan. That's fine, but
just a reminder: the director of Tusk.
Exactly. He's got PTSD still. But for me, I would put this straight into his top 3 films. I don't want to put it above the original.
All of them being Clerks.
Well, no, I wouldn't put Clerks 2 in his top 3. So I wouldn't put it above the original Clerks, but I think Dogma's probably looking a little bit worried.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like Dogma.
Dogma's fucking great.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure how much it'll appeal to people that aren't already a fan of Kevin Smith or haven't at least kind of had a passing enjoyment of the previous
I've heard.
couple of films. The whole thing is basically like Easter egg the movie, but Kevin Smith, he really does know his audience. Like, he knows that he has a following of loyal fans, and he plays directly to them, and I don't think he really particularly cares about appealing to a mass audience anymore. It almost kind of feels like it's a family affair, like the fans are involved just
it
as
shows
much.
that's true, because he never releases his films on big things now, does he? He just releases them in small doses, and he definitely releases to the fans, and all the fans with their bongs.
Me.
Bong. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that the fans are just as instrumental in this film being made as the crew. Like, there's a couple of kind of like a fourth wall breaking wink to the camera wouldn't be out of place with all these Easter eggs and everything. And
isn't there one specifically in the trailer because they're talking about those the filming Clerks, and it's talking about, we're going to put an alternative ending in where a guy comes in and shoots Dante. But why? What if you want to do a sequel? Oh, I'm not going to do a sequel. I'm not a hack. And then it just cuts to Silent Bob going, "Hey,"
exactly,
pointing at the camera.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, talking about sort of knowing his audience. So the film opens with "Welcome to the Black Parade" by My Chemical Romance. So
what the fuck?
If any 30-something-year-old nerd doesn't get pumped over that, then just what are you doing? But the story itself, it does something a little bit interesting, and again, it's very meta. So during Randall filming his movie, they actually do go back and recreate almost perfectly, including being in black and white, the scenes from the original Clerks movie. And I think if you watch the new one, you'll probably go back to the original and watch it in a slightly different way.
Even the scene where the woman fucks a corpse.
That part is not included.
I didn't think so.
Actually, sort of mentioning that, there's things addressed in the new film regarding the original that by today's standards would be slightly problematic, and those things are actually and those things are actually addressed in the new film in quite a funny way.
Some of the words, especially the slurs.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of self-aware in the way they did the name Tolkien in South Park, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah,
it kind of turns.
Yep.
it kind of turns it around on you. It's like, well, if that's what you thought, then you're the arsehole here. But yeah, the humor it's kind of noticeably less juvenile, I'd say, certainly than Clerks 2 was. Don't get me wrong, like Jay and Silent Bob are in it, so you do get your run-of-the-mill dick and weed jokes, but it's...
$50, little man, put that shit in my hand.
See, you know you're going to see it.
Oh, God.
But yeah,
If it's free, I'll see it.
It's not, it's $9.99 to rent.
Nope.
But yeah, the more kind of cringe side of the dick and fart jokes are certainly a lot more toned down. But that's not really the point of the film. I genuinely think that Kevin Smith set out to write something that actually was like personal and heartfelt to him. And as I said before, like certainly if you know anything about him, that you'll know that he himself had a massive heart attack before a show, I think about 5 years ago.
Didn't he officially die or something?
I don't think so, but the type of heart attack he had is called a widowmaker, because men that suffer this particular type of heart attack...
They fucking die.
They just die. They have something like a 10-20% chance of survival. And I remember him talking about it actually on his podcast just a couple of weeks after it happened. And he mentioned how he actually never had any of the sort of classic symptoms of a heart attack. For example, he never felt any pain. He just kind of couldn't catch his breath. And both of these things are mentioned in the film. So when Randall's having his heart attack, he mentions he doesn't have any pain. He just, there's no point in being there. He just can't catch his breath.
Didn't he really get into shape as well?
Kevin Smith did, yeah. And arguably not the healthiest way of doing it, because he does
went extreme vegan, didn't he?
Extremely vegan, and he does these 2-week complete fasts as well. So
yeah, there's a lot of people doing that in Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously worked for him, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, certainly without a doctor's approval.
No, definitely not.
But I remember him saying on the podcast that it was he was high at the time when he had this heart attack, and the doctor said to him,
Surprise.
"This is what's going to keep you alive. It's going to keep you calm." So yeah,
does this mean that's your excuse to smoke more
exactly?
pot?
It saves me from a heart attack.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, I mean,
you, sweetheart.
It causes and prevents the heart attack. But yeah, no, just to finish off, it does carry, just to be warned, it carries a moderate to severe mascara warning, especially if you've ever worked with one of your best friends. There's also, and it seems like a lot of people have missed this, but there's a mid-credits note from Kevin Smith that was originally supposed to be in the film, and it's quite a nice kind of poignant thing for him to say, but he felt like the final scene was so nice without it. He just put it in the credits. But it's worth listening to. And if you've ever worked in retail, he mentions that something that, I mean, certainly for me, looking back at my days of working in Virgin Megastore, it really rings true. And if you're feeling a bit down because you work in retail, just have a listen to what he has to say.
Don't want to start fucking crying, mate.
But yeah, no, really good. Really, really good. I loved it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd heard that it's one for the fans.
Yeah.
It's basically anyone who's a fan of his has been saying how much they really enjoyed it, and everyone else who's ambivalent or not that bothered are kind of like, yeah, it's fine. So
yeah.
The original Clerks is a fucking masterpiece on that budget.
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's cinematic.
Yeah, it's good.
It's gold, mate. It's absolute gold. And it's just all been downhill from there for me. Apart from Dogma, which is the black sheep in there, because Dogma's sensational play on the on the church, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got panned though, didn't it, when it came out?
I don't care. It's still a sensational film.
That's the
No,
one.
I'm just saying no one liked it, and then it's become a bit more of a cult hit.
Oh, all Kevin Smith films are like culty, but I mean, Kevin Smith himself, like, because obviously it's film to do with Christianity. There were a bunch of protesters protesting a showing at one of the premieres, and he went out with them with a sign up. He went out there with a sign up and protested his own film.
Catholicism now, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Right. Well, thank you for everyone. We're going to move on to our main feature of the week. This week, we are going to talk about our favourite horror villains. Ooh, spooky. But we're going to do it across everything. So if it's from a game, from TV, from a film, from literature, it can be a villain from anywhere. It doesn't have to just be films. And we are going to start with Gadget.
Okay, so I wasn't always going to go to video games for this one because I don't really like horror films or books or anything like that. So I did think at first of maybe doing Albert Wesker, but I think he's too easy. He's got he's already got total global saturation. We're not going to bother with that one. Instead, though, I'm going to go for something which was massively inspired by Resident Evil, but a game series I don't know if I prefer it to Resident Evil, but I really do enjoy it. Dead Space. And we're going to talk about the Church of Unitology. So it's not kind of one person, it's just this kind of conceptual antagonist. But yeah, because I don't like churches in general or religion or anything like that. And this kind of works for me.
I've read your book.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Just because you set fire when you cross the threshold of a church, don't put it on everyone else.
Well, this particular church is worse than the one I wrote in my book.
Yeah.
So the Church of Unitology are the kind of the persistent antagonists throughout the Dead Space series. They kind of get ruined by the third game because they become very overt, whereas in Dead Space 1 and 2, they're very they're more covert and they're kind of under the surface and everything's bubbling through. So this church was formed as a lie. Essentially, the if you go back into the Dead Space lore and you go back to the novel, Dead Space Martyr, which talks about the first of these markers that were found. The markers are what create the necromorphs, the alien technology that makes monsters for some reason. No one really knows what they're there for, but one of them is discovered on Earth by a scientist.
They look cool.
They do look cool as fuck. By a scientist called God, what was his first name? It's not Robert Altman. Is his name
Elon Musk?
No. Although, to be fair, if he found some kind of world-ending piece of technology, I'm sure he would fucking use it. Michael Altman, sorry, not Robert Altman. Michael Altman is part of the scientific team that discovers this marker. As per the kind of the law, these markers kind of infect your brain and kind of drive you mad until you die, and then it twists and converts your body into a monster. But Michael Altman was one of the few people it didn't affect. People started looking at him. People started getting very religious about this, about what was going on, and started seeing him as a prophet. He didn't believe in it. He thought it were all bullshit. Until he was murdered by someone who thought he could make money out of the concept, and Michael Altman then became the prophet, the martyr, and the religion was formed from that. And it became a control and a money-making thing for a guy called Craig Markov. And it kind of went from there. So the Unitologists believe that the human race will eventually come together in one glorious whole in an event called Convergence. And basically, they want everybody to turn into these necromorph monsters and die. And that makes them a really fucking terrifying concept, because as a religious teaching, they teach everything quite positively, quite like, oh, we'll all come together, we'll all be the same, we'll all be one another. Like, they kind of teach fancy space communism, but it's actually murdery monsterism. And yeah.
One of the failed political stances.
Yeah.
That's the pod title there.
What, murdery monsterism? Yeah, I like it. The events of the first game happen because the captain of the USG Ishimura is a unitologist. But that's not known to the rest of the crew. And it's kind of these things where they get into positions of power, they become very secretive about it. Like Scientologists! And do you see, it's all the scary religious shit all coming together, and they wear robes and all that kind of thing and talk about the horrible things. Yeah,
coming for you now, mate. They're coming for you.
I'm going to read this little paragraph from. This is from the Villains wiki. It's just a fandom wiki called Villains. Candy, I'm still going. If you don't want to be spoiled.
Cheers.
It says Unitology's entire Unitology's entire theology was written to blind its adherents to any conceivable horror and to willfully submit to the power of the marker, even if it turned out that infection was the only true way to reach the eternal life it provided. The church was founded to prepare humanity for the upcoming event where another marker was to be founded, and that same marker would allow them to bring around the evolution that they had promised. Common Unitologists are blissfully unaware of the true mission of the church, and only the upper echelons are aware of such information and have access to it and maintain their secrecy, even at the cost of their adherents and countless other people. So yeah, they're horrible bastards.
Catholics.
They're really creepy.
Space Catholics.
No, space Scientologists. Yeah, they're fucking horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, Unitologists. Dead Space. Also, play Dead Space when the remake comes out. It's really, really good. Yeah, I'm done with spoilers. Candy, you can come back now.
I was going to be naughty then and say, well, Candy's off while she's not listening.
No.
Let's talk shit about her. Oh, she's here. She's back.
I've read the comics, which must be based on the books by the sounds of it.
I have, mate. I have.
And I really
what
enjoyed
he's just
that
said is in the comics.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that backstory. I thought it was really interesting because
it's
I
a shame
the
that
games
the backstory is not fully in the games.
Mm.
No, there's some of the stuff about Altman in the game, but most of it you get from Dead Space Martyr, which is which as video game novel adaptations go is pretty good. And
most of the lore is in the much loved Dead Space 3.
Oh yeah. well, that's the thing. Dead Space 3 kind of ruins it because the unitologists come out as
changes it, doesn't it?
The objective baddie, whereas in 1 and 2 it's kind of it's more EarthGov that are the problem, but the unitologists kind of like sliding in the side there. So, but yeah, I think as a organization, I think they're a really cool and creepy adversary.
I do
for the player. And just I love the lore and the storytelling of Dead Space anyway. So
there's nothing scarier than a space pope.
Oh, space popes are the worst. Unless it's that lizardy one from Futurama. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, I like him. He's good.
Cool. That was good because it was something a little bit different to just what I'm going to pick.
Freddy Krueger?
Which is just a standard bad guy. He's not a standard bad guy though, but I'm picking this because it comes from personal trauma of a 6-year-old boy.
Oh no.
Who was allowed to watch a TV series back when he was 6 years old by his babysitter, by his bad, irresponsible babysitter.
I hope it's you you're talking about.
About a dancing clown called Pennywise.
Oh, fuck. You were 6?
I was 6 years old when
Tim
I watched
Curry?
Tim Curry play Pennywise the clown.
Fuck that. You idiot. Well, not you, but the babysitter.
Absolute shit out of me. To the point where I had to have a nightlight and I couldn't sleep in the dark for about 3 or 4 years. It was really fucked me up. But yeah, I want to talk about Pennywise the Clown, or It, because Pennywise
Bob
is
Gray.
Just, yeah, well, I was going to say, Pennywise is just one of its many, many forms. It is a horrific and malevolent cosmic entity that is billions of years old, spawned in the void of the macroverse.
Yep.
It is unknown number of centuries or even millennia ago, it came to planet Earth to feed, and it currently resides in the sewers of, when we meet it, the New England town Derry, where it awakens every 27 years to prey on the town's children and feeds on their fears. And it's just its ability to just prey on a child's fear and change its shape and shapeshift around that just fucking freaked me the fuck out. So
it doesn't matter if you feel like you're not scared of anything, it'll still untap that fear
that's
in you.
the thing in it. That's the thing about it, isn't it?
You can't escape it.
Yeah, you might. Its ability to tap into the fear of the children. I think it works better than both the TV series and the films. The first part with the children works so much better than the adults.
It's same with the book, mate. The first half of the book is the better bit. But saying that, the book's split. Like, one chapter is the kids, one chapter is the book's fucked up.
Yeah, because
it like splits it about all the
as
time.
an adult now, my fears as an adult are completely different.
Debt.
To my fears as a child. As a child, if a werewolf or a mummy or the leper, that how it's portrayed in the films, like if that was coming towards me, like that would I'd fucking I'd shit myself. That would scare the crap out of me. The clown itself, Pennywise, both Tim Curry's and Bill Skarsgård, both are incredible as Pennywise, and they both have such different takes, which is what I love about it. But I always find Tim Curry scarier, not just because of my past with that TV series, mini-series, but he looks like a normal clown.
He does.
Bill Skarsgård doesn't. Bill Skarsgård looks like a demonic clown.
He's got a big fucking head.
He's got big, massive head. He's got eyes that go in different directions.
Yeah.
His teeth are all fucked up, and he looks... His makeup and everything about him, he looks evil. He looks grimy. He looks bad. He doesn't look like
Yeah,
a
the
friendly
kids still
clown.
want to go up to him and go, hello.
Yeah, whereas Tim Curry's clown is a standard clown. Red hair, white makeup, big red nose.
Yeah.
Beep, beep. You know, all that kind of stuff.
Come on, Georgie. Beep, beep.
And yeah, I think it is, or Pennywise, it just freaks me out. I don't like clowns. I never liked clowns because of this. And I think Tim Curry is just absolutely incredible because, yeah, it's just that, like, look at the scene when he's in the bath, in the showers, and he comes out the drain, and he's just sat there. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like he's like normal. It's almost like this is normal, and then all of a sudden he just like opens his mouth, and it's just these huge, massive, razor sharp teeth, and it's like, go away! No, it's horrible. And then throughout the rest of the film, you see things like a child getting pulled through a drain pipe, cut in half, and he pulls him. The light pulls him through, and Pennywise represents to me the unknown because it can be anything. Literally, the entity can be anything it wants and prey on the child's fear, and that's really scary to me. And I think
for me, it's one of those rare villains that the on-screen versions are better than the books, because in the books, it's you know what Stephen King's like. He likes to have everything connected, like the creature. Its mortal nemesis is the turtle god and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, but that was also peak cocaine years for Stephen King.
Yeah, exactly. And he had to have everything linked, and it's
also like
the film and the TV
shows or
shows.
something stupid like that. It's a ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and it's got awful chapters to do with like child sex and stuff like that. That I mean, like between kids and kid, but we don't need that.
No.
It's not needed.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
And the show and the books, the show and the films, they just nail it.
Yeah, and what
it's weird that Stiggy mentioned about his age, because at my daughter's school, one of the kids at the school knows about that clown.
That's fucked up.
And she's 5, so we're talking about a 5-year-old that's possibly seen that.
Nah,
they all talk about Pennywise in the drain. It's just kind of no, they talk about it. They know the name
they
as
haven't
well.
seen the film. They've seen YouTube and TikTok things.
Yeah,
okay,
influencers.
They haven't seen.
Because
the
I was
film.
worried about
Not
that.
a
I was
chance.
just kind of like, how do they know about that?
Yeah, my
already?
niece knows about. My kids know about Pennywise. They just see it, like they just know about the character. There's not a fucking chance any of them have watched the film.
No,
I hope you're right, mate. I really hope you're right.
My nephew goes onto YouTube and just watches the kill compilations from horror films because he's not allowed to watch the films, so he just watches
How old
the kills.
is it?
He'd be 12 now, I think. He's been doing it since he was a lot younger.
Oh no thanks.
But yeah, what I actually love about Pennywise is a clown is meant to be fun for a kid. It's taking something that's meant to be quote unquote safe and enjoyable and fun, and it twists it on its head and it makes it horrific and it makes it a nightmare. And yeah, I think the new version does an amazing job with the visuals and what they do with
not the second one though. The second film's shite.
Yeah, awful. What they do to scare the kids. The little things, just like when he's wandering around the room full of dolls, and then all of a sudden Pennywise just pops out and chases him, and he runs towards the camera. Like that fucking freaks me out. And I'm not a child, but imagine being the child and that thing's running at you. That is horrific. It's way worse than anything the likes of Freddy Krueger could ever do, because he could only ever touch people in his dreams. Pennywise, the entity, whatever, that thing can get you whenever you want, anytime, and trick you into a situation. And yeah, it for me is just, it's an amazing villain, so well done. But like you said, like in the novel, maybe let down in other areas.
It's just Stephen King being Stephen fucking King.
Yeah.
Like, it has to fight a space turtle to win.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
what the fuck are you on?
When it turns into a spider at the end of
lots of coke.
Like it's disappointing, but everything that leads up to it, the actual idea of it is brilliant.
The stuff with the deadlights is quite interesting because that's its truest form. It's just a bright light. Yeah. And it's quite interesting, and how it does it in the novel as well, where one of the bullies sees the deadlights and he survives it, and then as an adult he's fucked up and he becomes an adversary for them all.
Yeah, it becomes
That's
like
cool.
he gets him
Psycho.
to like act revenge on him. But that's also like using his kind of fear on the adult, isn't it? It's like almost like they're all
were abused by his dad,
they're all
wasn't
talking about you. They're all doing this and like this.
Yeah.
You know, you need to go out there and show them who's who and kill them and that kind of thing. That's the kind of
Clever.
fear as an adult rather than a big fucking CGI wood chopper. Pennywise, that's for me. What about yourself, Candy?
Well, so I really wanted to bring Hannibal Lecter this week, but I know I've just droned on and on about him several times before on the pod. So I went with something different, but just so you know, Hannibal's my favourite. The irony being with my choice is that you never actually see the villain that I've chosen, and I'm going with the Blair Witch. And let me tell you, I watched this film this evening before the pod for a bit of research. And it's probably been about 20 years since I'd last seen it, and I don't remember being spooked by it. And I don't know if it's because it's like a particularly dark, blustery night, or if I just live a bit too close to the woods. But it really gave me the heebie-jeebies this evening.
It is scary. It's still scary, man.
Yeah. And I think the reason that, the pure fact that you don't really see her is why she works so well as a horror villain. And some of the most effective horror films, for example, like Jaws and Alien, they don't show you much of the monster. They leave it up to your imagination.
The happening.
The unhappening.
It's the wind.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a group of 3 young student filmmakers head into the woods, head into the local town to interview the locals about this legend of the Blair Witch. Off they go into the woods and sure enough start getting lost because they're completely incompetent with a map, it turns out. But the days of them being lost in the woods is basically spent with the dread of the nightfall. And fear of the dark is just, it's instinctual and ingrained in all of us. What we can't see actually can hurt us. Like the forest itself feels alive with a demonic presence. And it's like the woodland itself is the witch. Like she has this just permanent looming kind of omnipresence, and it's the element of the unseen that's what's so terrifying. It's just your imagination is at play. Like no one knows your true fears more than you, so effectively you're actually just scaring yourself. Like whatever you can picture usually ends up being a great deal scarier than anything in reality. Like how many times have you seen a horror film and it's just shit the bed at the end because the monster reveal is actually just awful? Like it can ruin the whole build up. And
yeah, I had that with The Ritual.
I had that on Terror on Bloodfart Lake.
Because it was doing so well up until the end.
Yeah, the Ritual was very similar. It was the fear of the unknown and in the dark in the forest and you can't see anything. And then right at the end, it was just like, here's the monster. And I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
They did that a lot with some books. I've like some, especially Lovecraft books, where it's like, all the losing your mind stuff's fantastic, and then at the end it's a big space squid.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Candy, have you got the Blu-ray or the DVD of it?
No.
Have you seen the documentary that was part of the DVD set?
Yeah, it's really good.
If I have, it wouldn't have been for about 20 years.
It's really good because I showed my wife the documentary first because it was on the Blu-ray, and I showed her the documentary first, which is the same people, but interviewing people in the town before they go on the trip into the woods. So there's a lot more backstory about the Blair Witch, and there's explanations as to how it attacks and affects people, including the standing in the corner bit, which isn't really explained in the movie, but in the documentary, somebody actually talks about how the witch will get you.
Yeah,
and it really sets that up.
Is in the beginning, but you certainly have to pay attention and listen to what every single person is saying, because I don't know, like if it's kind of expanded upon in the documentary, obviously they cut a lot out in the film, because you really do have to pay attention to what they're saying.
It's really clever.
Yeah.
Don't watch the Book of
My
Shadows.
wife fell for it. I let her sit there for 45 minutes before I told her it was just a movie. She actually
really?
believed it.
Oh,
back in the day,
that
she
happened in
actually,
real life too. That happened in
she
real
actually
life to a
thought it was
lot
real.
of people, because they had to come out with the actors, didn't they, and say they're not dead.
Yeah.
They advertised it.
That's how
Yeah,
it's
they did
advertised like
advertise it as if it was real.
Yeah.
That's right. But
to come out on one of the talk shows and look, they're here, look. They're
Yeah.
not dead.
Well, it does get a lot of flack for being, well, certainly these days for being a found footage film. But actually, I mean, it was one of the first, if not the first.
The most popular.
Yeah,
I
I mean, the
think,
first to do it so effectively.
Cannibal Holocaust, I think, was the first.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
copied a lot of Spanish films as well. A lot of Spanish films were doing that.
It was one of the
Right.
biggest mainstream ones, I'd say, definitely.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. It wasn't even a genre. They didn't have a name for it.
Mm. But yeah, no, like you said, Biggie, going back to the interviews, you start, when you watch it, as soon as they go into the woods, you do start noticing clues and things that are like events that are happening around them before even the characters are realizing themselves. And yeah, like you said, that final scene in the house, it kind of, it does
Brilliantly
remain
done.
one of the most effective endings in horror films, I think. Like you see
Yeah, I
Mike
agree.
standing in the corner.
Until you watch the sequel and find out what happens.
No, I have only once. And actually, the most recent, I think it was the most recent version of, because there was one that came out, what was it, 3-4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Um,
And a game.
I never played the game.
Don't.
I take it as no good. Because in the latest film, they do show her, and it's just, I mean, it's kind of scary, but
It's just a witch.
it's just a witch, exactly, with long arms.
Again, don't show. That's the most effective thing in that film, is that end
It's
scene.
got one of the most famous scenes in Hollywood history where she's snotting on the camera in the
Yeah.
tent.
Mm.
That's
Well, it's-
that's iconic.
Well, it's almost like a confession as well, isn't it? Because again, in the beginning,
We
They
went
sort
too
of-
far.
well, they sort of say that it could be somebody within your group that's turning evil. Like the Blair Witch, the house that they go to is actually belonged to somebody like a sort of a hermit who built the house himself because he wanted to be away from people. But he wasn't doing anyone harm until he got possessed by the witch, and he was the one that told the victims to stand in the corner because he can bear them watching whilst he killed their friends, kind of thing.
That's
So
it, yeah.
Spoopy.
Really, really spooky. Much more spooky than I remember.
Ooh, I like it. More thinking outside the box. But I'm sure Biggie or Oodles are going to bring it back down to a normal villain, and I'm going to pick Biggie.
Well, let me tell you a story.
About a film called Lethal Weapon.
A film called The Thing.
Located in western Japan, Himeji Castle stands atop a mountain. It was built somewhere between 1333 and 1346 as a home for the Lord of Himeji himself. The castle, the most popular tourist destination in Japan, is said to be incredibly lucky, almost supernaturally so, but it has a very creepy story attached to it, the story of Akiku, who died in a well outside the castle. Akiku, who worked in the dungeon beneath the castle, was the servant to a samurai named Tessan Ayama, and Ayama took a particular liking to her. In fact, he fell madly in love with her, telling her that he was going to leave his wife and be with her. But Akiku wasn't on board with this plan, which led to her apparent murder at the hands of the brutal samurai. One of her primary duties was to look after 10 highly valuable golden plates that were owned by Ayama. And one day, the samurai decided to hide one of them. He told Akiku that if she didn't agree to be with him, he would blame her for stealing the plate, which would lead to her torture and execution. In one version of the story, Akiku ended her own life by throwing herself down the castle's well, believing herself to be in a no-win situation with no other way out. In the other version, Ayama threw her down the well after she refused to be with him. Of course, the story doesn't end there. In the wake of Akiku's death, she was said to crawl out of the well and appear to Ayama on a nightly basis. Ayama was apparently driven insane by the vengeful ghost's incessant screams in the night. She was regularly heard counting the plates in the dungeon, throwing a violent fit whenever she realised, as she always did, that the 10th plate was missing. So this inspired a novel, and this novel was then turned into a movie, and that became The Ring.
You scared me, mate.
Oh man, this movie scared the shit out of me when I saw The Ring for the first time.
Are you on about The Ring or Ringu?
Ring, it doesn't matter. For me,
film,
the Japanese
basically,
version is the superior version. Everybody has their favourites. But yeah, it's may have dated a little bit now, but I particularly like the build-up in the original because as daft as the concept actually sounds, they pretty much sold it on the terror of this tape. As the journalist Raiku investigates the rumours around this tape, the horror isn't truly revealed until the end of the film. The tape itself, which we see clips of, unsettling and confusing, and as the story unravels, the images start to make more sense. Sadako's supernatural powers are truly terrifying, as she can burn images of her choosing into your mind or into other materials. The phone will ring after you've watched this tape, and it informs you of the 7-day countdown to the death. When the bodies of the victims are found, their faces are so deformed and twisted into a complete look of fear, as if they were literally scared to death. And then when we truly witness the true horror, as Ryuji, believing that they've ended the curse of Sadako by retrieving her rotten remains from the well and feeling that all is at peace, he is finally visited by Sadako as she crawls out of his TV and takes another victim. And the absolute shock and look of fear on his face is just something else. The curse continues as Raika looks to visit her grandfather and save her son. And just that iconic scene just blew me away when I saw that movie.
Fucking horrible, isn't it?
It's insane. And I don't know if you saw any of the videos on YouTube around the time that this movie was at its peak. They used to show this movie in a room with a group of people watching it, and then they'd have an actress crawl out of the cupboard underneath.
Yeah. No, I have seen
at the same time as she does on the TV. Just seeing these people absolutely lose their shit. But I've been scared twice in real life by my wife doing the same thing with her hair and dropping her hair down.
Did she crawl out the telly?
No, she just did that creepy little scuttle that the character does. And I've also had an 8-year-old Filipino girl do the same thing to me as well, because they told her I was scared of this.
That serves you right for making her watch the Blair Witch thinking it was real.
I was going to say, you could deserve that.
Karma, that, mate.
But I think because the newer film is a bit more gory, I guess, in its own little way, and it's great. It's actually quite a fine film, but I just think the original just was so good with the build-up, because you never actually saw what happened to them until right at the end, and you still don't quite see. You just know that she's so benevolent and so evil that whatever she does in front of their face just absolutely scares them to death, and I just think it's so fucking creepy. And I want to give another shout out to The Grudge as well, because it's a very similar thing.
Yeah.
That just gave me the creep. Oh, I hate that noise so much.
That was the one film that utterly horrified me when I watched it.
Every time you open a cupboard.
Yeah, no.
Don't. Just, I hate that noise.
Grudge, I watched.
Yeah.
I've never seen the Western version.
No, I never did. But apparently it's all right. But the original Japanese version I watched by myself with a TV that was a couple of feet in front of me in a dark, completely pitch black room. And I was literally utterly horrified. That it was the first film that I've ever had to turn off, that I've just been genuinely that petrified about.
Gadget, don't watch these films, mate. You won't like them.
I know I won't.
The thing about the TV scene is so clever, because you see the snippets on the video and you never quite see that final reveal until at the end of that original movie, and it's just so well done. It's so creepy.
What about the spoof on Scary Movie where she bangs her head as she's coming out? She's like, shit!
But yeah, Sadako, or The Ring, or Ringu, whatever you want to call it, is just
The Ring, wasn't she?
In the remake Samara, yeah.
Did you ever read the book?
No.
Apparently the book's frightening, like people dropping the book and go, no.
No, do you know what? I would have said the opposite. So, like, to me, and it's been a long time since I read the book, but it was actually more of a thriller, really. Less of a horror book, more of a thriller.
Isn't it more of a detective one?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't read horror books because I get into them. Do you know, like the kid from Neverending Story? I get into them. I don't want to get zapped into some fucking scary Japanese horror world. No thanks.
Well, I didn't know it was based on that tale. I found that out yesterday. So
it's a real story, true story.
It happened
allegedly.
Yep. Right, Noodles, round us off. Who is your horror villain?
So Gadget scared me earlier because he mentioned Resident Evil, and as you all know, I'm a very big fan of this series, and I'd be remiss not to bring something up from Resident Evil. But I've gone for the non-obvious pick. I've gone for the Bakers.
Oh yeah, they're good villains.
They're
everyone's favourite horrible bastards. So the Baker family from Resident Evil 7. Yes. Stig's also a member of this family. They consist of a family from, is it Louisiana, somewhere like that?
Yeah, it's Louisiana.
Yeah. Jack Baker, the dad. Marguerite Baker, the mum. Lucas Baker, the son. Zoe Baker, the daughter. Joe Baker, the uncle. And the grandma. So, from now on, I'm going to talk about spoilers for Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, tune out for a bit. So if you don't know the Bakers are in Resident Evil 7, you've seen footage of them, trust me. If you're into games, welcome to the family, son. All that stuff.
Fucking great moment, that.
It's sensational. It's frightening. So Resident Evil after 6 was at an all-time low. The series was stagnant. People were crying out for a proper refresh, and Capcom did the impossible. They said, guys, we're doing a first-person game. It's not like Resident Evil. Turns out it was very much like Resident Evil after the halfway mark, but the beginning, the first 5 hours, it's very much its own thing.
Yeah, they saw PT just as they were starting Resident Evil 7. Like, yep, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do.
We're doing that.
We're doing that.
Creepy shit. Exactly. Yeah, and you play as Ethan Winters. Is a completely new character in this, and you don't see who Ethan is. He is basically the
he's blonde Stig.
He's Stig.
Mr. Generic,
basically.
All
Mr.
right.
Generic. Sorry, Stig. I didn't say that. You said. He's the avatar for you, and that's why the first-person view works for this game. You go into this house. Basically, your wife's been missing for 3-4 years. He gets a random email in the video saying, "Don't come and find me," or whatever. So what does he do?
You're gonna
He
go
goes to find her. His wife. That fucking hell. Move on, man. And 3 years. Come on. Fucking hell. Think of that Tinder action. But yeah, it goes to this house in Louisiana where it's told to come, and it's abandoned, and shit kicks off for real. So, spoiler alert again, he finds his wife pretty fast, and she turns on him, and she's fucking horrible. That beginning bit, Gadget.
Oh, that way she
with,
jumps up the
Mia.
stairs.
Yeah, and
Yes.
she fucking snaps your hand back and
Awful.
stuff.
I've mentioned it before. Don't play it in VR, otherwise you will be
No.
scared.
Yes, you will.
This film cleverly brings things from every single horror trope, but it does it so well. And straight away, like, she chops your fucking hand off. And you're like, what the fuck? And he stitches his hand back on. But
Okay.
we'll talk about that later. And from there on, it becomes a completely different game. So you wake up after being fucked up by your wife, and you meet the Bakers. Now, the Bakers aren't the Stuart Baker family. It's a different type of baker. These
They make cookies.
These make kind of cookies, but they've got maggots in them and stuff. These are a proper play on Texas Chainsaw Massacre family. I forgot the name of that family, but it's them. And the dad is trying to shove a knife in your mouth. He's trying to make the mum's Marguerite. She's trying to make you eat like offal proper just awful stuff.
People awful as well.
People awful.
Like,
yeah,
it's quite
and,
explicit that they're cannibals.
Yeah, oh yeah, and they're just arguing amongst themselves to the point where Jack fucking cuts off his son's arm, and they're both laughing about it. So you know something's off. I'm not going to recount the whole game, but
Just a bit.
the clever thing that they do then as a game mechanic is every single face-off with this family is its own thing.
Yeah,
It's its own like a gameplay loop. And what Capcom did, they brought all the best things from the series and put it in this game. So Jack Baker is the nemesis, Mr. X. He's constantly walking around the house,
just
stalking you
constantly.
Yeah, and Marguerite Baker is the monstrosity that morphs into what Resident Evil's known for, big boss battles, and then you've got Lucas, who it turns it into more of a escape room, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And then you've got Zoe Baker, who's by all accounts a goodie. She's not been affected by whatever's affecting this family, and she's trying to help you along the way. And you've got difficult choices to make. But the frightening and the most simple, frightening thing about this whole game is, at any moment in that game, you could be walking around a corner, and there's the grandma just sat in a chair. She doesn't do anything. She just rocks in a chair. She follows you, though, with her eyes. Wherever you stand, she's following you. And it turns out that grandma's something that appears later on. But what I just think there's something really effective about being in a really realistic environment. Apart from the fact that Ethan can have his limbs chopped off and glue them back together, that's just a game. It's just a game being a game, isn't it? There's something really effective about.
It's not just glue. It's the magic juice.
Yeah, and it's later explained in Resident Evil 8 why you can do this kind of thing. And this is the main.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's explained. Not well.
Kind of. the main spoiler I want to talk about is what you don't realize in this game is you're playing someone that's died.
Yes.
You got killed. You get killed by Jack in the beginning of the game. You are dead.
I think, isn't it implied that what they're trying to feed to you is actually part of yourself? At the very beginning,
you are eating yourself. Yes, you are basically made of mold from this game and the next game. You are not human. This is why you can do all these spectacular things like gluing your leg back on. Just crazy. And you can survive this. But while you're playing 7, especially, you don't know any of this. And it's clever, the fact that it's so down-to-earth and realistic compared to Chris Redfield punching a boulder into a volcano. It strips back everything. And it reminds you of the original Resident Evil where you're in a house and it's realistic. In your head, you'd think to yourself, I'll just jump out the window and run off. This game's got that covered. All the windows are bad.
Yeah.
You ain't getting out. You ain't getting out of there. And you've not got, until the very end, you've not got machine guns and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. It does kind of around about the third time you fight Jack, it does start getting silly and very Resident Evil.
Yeah, you do like a chainsaw battle with him practically. Don't you
have a chainsaw battle with
him.
No, he goes groovy.
The third time you fight him,
the third
where
one,
it becomes the standard Resident Evil tumor monster.
But even that scene when you're in the garage and you get the car and you think, I'm out of here.
When he kills the body.
You feel like you're getting out. You feel like, I'm getting out of it.
Yeah.
Like Jack especially is such a well done baddie because he's quite mad. He is really, really fucking insane in the funniest and scariest way possible. Because that scene in the garage where he's doing donuts in the car trying to run you over after having
laughing his head off,
is actually objectively really fucking funny. But at the same time, it's caught you by such surprise that your adrenaline's all the way up there, and you've just you feel like you're losing it. But I love
he just shoots himself in the head.
I love the reveal that you get towards the end of the game. But when you find out what the grandma is, and you find out what the kind of the core of the story is, and you have this kind of flashback of Jack apologizing to you, and I think that is a really interesting way to.
They don't mean to be who they are.
No, they're not acting in their right mind.
They're victims.
Clearly, they're victims as much as you are. But I love that twist on it because so many baddies in Resident Evil are just really fucking evil for the sake of it.
Like Wesker.
Like
it's just evil.
Like Excella, like that fucking New York guy in Resident Evil 5, whatever he's called.
Oh yeah,
is it Hal or something like that? The brilliant scientist that sounds like you'd find him in Atlantic City. You know,
running a pizza restaurant.
They're not well written, are they? They're all pretty one note.
They're all one note, and they're all evil for the sake of it. Whereas, like you have the Baker family are terrifying, but they're not in control either. They're victims as much as you are, and I love that element to the story.
I do. I mean, that's what makes them like enticing bad guys to. You kind of in a strange, weird way, you root for them because when you play the game again, it all makes sense. Everything they're telling you. The game doesn't lie to you at all.
It's the same with Resident Evil 8, like the 4 primary baddies that you fight. Not Mother Miranda, but the 4 primary baddies. They're all sort of victims in the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just twisted and turned around.
Yeah. And it's just, you cannot tell that this game is made by Japanese production. You can't tell. It's the most Western Resident Evil that they've done.
Yeah.
To the point where even the Japanese version is dubbed English and it's got Japanese writing. That is what their vision is. They are saying, yeah, we can do Western horror in Japan. We can do it. Like Western people can't do Japanese horror. Not a fucking prayer.
There's a similar bit early on in the game. For me, that when I discovered it was very similar to Alien Isolation. Was that when I was running away hiding from Jack quite early on, and I thought I was in a safe space. I was tucked away in this corner, ducked out of the way, thinking I can hear him, and I know he's around, but he's not going to come here because this is clearly a safe space. And it was like, no, it's not. He killed me outright.
That's why I had to stop playing it in VR. His encounters, I started and did the first thing, and it shit me up, and then I did all the first kind of bits in the house, and then his constant chasing and encounters. You'd walk in a room and he's just
Must be
there,
too
and you'd
much.
be like, "Oh fucking hell!" And it just the constant running away and having to hide. It just shit me up. And you were like, I was like this. Literally, I'd get to a space where I was safe because, you know, at the point where it's just like, "Where are you?" Like it's kind of like calling you out. It's like, right, he doesn't know where I am, but you're like this,
Yeah.
like peering around corners in your VR suit. Like, constantly just peeking around the corner.
Yeah.
Is he gone? And you're like, oh, he's gone. And then all of a sudden, you appear again. Yeah, fuck. And it's just like it was too much. It was too much.
And
It's
that's
like,
your dad.
It's like I cannot play the rest of this game with this headset on.
I got
So-
past
But
there and I
yeah.
had to stop when it was the spiders jumping out at you from the lock. When a spider jumps at your face.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
It for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing I do want to mention on a gameplay standpoint of it is the emergent gameplay that it does have. Out of all the Resident Evil games, this is the most replayable because things can change. You are actively encouraged to sequence break and stuff like that. Like the puzzles, if you know the outcome before watching the tapes and stuff like that, the game talks to you. How did you know that? That kind of thing. Do you know, it knows. And a lot of the bosses can be killed in different ways, like the scene with Jack in the garage. Sometimes he doesn't get in the car. Sometimes you get in the car and it tries to kill you by pushing your face into the girders, doesn't it? And there's loads of different ways. Like you can, a lot of people don't know this, but you can shoot the car and it'll blow up. So no one gets in the fucking car. There's so many different ways that this game plays out. The emergent gameplay on it is fantastic, and the game knows that it does what Resident Evil 4 did perfectly. It borderline makes it feel like you're just surviving on the skin of your teeth. But if you are running out of bullets, you'll find bullets. The game works that around. If you need health, you'll eventually find a health. You know what I mean? It's such a fucking smart game, and the fact that they nail that in a bite-sized 10-hour experience that's you can replay it. And I haven't even spoke about Joe Baker yet, the DLC where you're the uncle, and he's basically the biggest pro wrestler of all time. He can drop kick and he can suplex these goo monsters and stuff. He is sensational. That DLC is fucking fantastic. I'm gonna come and find you, baby. It's just so fucking. It's brilliant, and the plot twist. And I don't know if you guys played it all, but when you get to the ship, it's frightening because you lose all your weapons and it goes back to surviving again. It's just that game. It deserves to be played and played and played and played and played. And the more you play it, the more new things you see. And I've platinumed that game. I've beat it on Madhouse difficulty. One of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. But even on that, the game's completely different. They move keys to different locations and stuff like that. It's just fucking sensational. It's just a masterclass. And the family, the backdrop of them is just
Before
beautiful.
this
They're one of
turns
the
into a
best.
Resident Evil podcast.
Yes, it can do.
It's about
It can do,
villains.
but
We're here to talk about the villains, so let's hear.
they're the backdrop.
They are the backdrop, but thank you for everyone. There were some really outside the box ones there, which was really good. But I want to know what our listeners have said, Gadget. What villains have they brought?
Well,
us?
before we talk about villains, we want to talk about a goodie here because King Hagrid emailed us earlier in the week to say, not that Hagrid, just want to say thank you for producing such great content with Do Dragon streamer Scorched Sheep. I saw the promotional post about the sequelizers joining us for the one shot and decided to give you a podcast to go. And by the time I got to episode 3, I pre-ordered the D&D starter kit and I've arranged the first game with some friends. And I'm rather sad now because despite only listening in the first place so I could get to the latest one shot, now I'm here and about to listen, knowing I've caught up, leaving an empty feeling. So I can't wait for season 3. And I will be supporting on Patreon, if only for the songs. Well, you're very lucky because as of this publishes today, tomorrow is when season 3 of Scorched Sheep starts.
Oh, I know what happens.
You do, because you were there and you were reasonably sober.
Yeah, more actually.
So yeah, I always like to highlight the nice little things that people say about us. But going to this week's top... Oh, Christ, we're starting with Super Natty Cat. Okay,
She's
it's
actually
going
a staff member now. You've got to be nice.
I know, but
She's
it
still
always starts
posting
weird.
over multiple Twitter accounts, like Twitter posts. So
She'll know
Have a
soon.
word, Candy. Have a
will.
word.
Have a word in the staff room. We'll have a word.
So she said, well, my first answer was going to be Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil 8 because of her amazing hat, beautiful voice, commanding tone, and huge tits. I have a director's note here to say motorboat noises. That is not happening.
It's her ass, not her tits. No one cares about her tits, it's that ass.
Well,
She finishes off this sentence saying, "Love me a big pair of boobies, I do." But no, my favourite horror villain has to be the Headless Horseman from the film Sleepy Hollow.
Christopher Walken.
This is the first horror film I watched over in a mate's house. I was 8 years old and grew up in a strict household. Joe had parents who let him do whatever he wanted, hence watching Sleepy Hollow with some pizza at 8 years old. I love that I didn't find him scary. I found him hilarious. I wanted him to do well. The bit where he shuts that dickhead preacher up by throwing a big spiky stick through the church gates and into his torso, then proceeds to drag him through the stained glass window. But the funny bit comes when the bloke gets stuck on the wooden fence in the churchyard and good old Headless Horseman is like, fuck's sake, like he just snagged his jacket on a doorknob. Me and Joe pissed ourselves laughing. Then he chops his head off in the most cool way possible. Legend. Can we get a therapist?
It was in my
Can we get a
ass.
therapist for Super Natty Cat? I feel like she needs to speak to somebody.
Okay for an 8-year-old, because I'm thinking about potentially letting Amelia watch it. But
Yeah.
I think
But there's one scene where the woman is shagging the man, but you can barely tell that they're shagging.
yeah, she just wants to
So if
watch.
you
She
wanna
wants to watch
explain
more horror
that-
films. It's all well.
My eldest son's watched it. He's
All
10.
the sexual
and,
references in Beetlejuice went over her head. So
yeah, she's literally the clothed, but the shagging. That's the only
She'll
bit.
just think
The
they're
blood's
kissing.
funny because it's super red blood,
Yeah.
Tim Burton blood.
yeah, I think I might do that one.
I think you can put Sleepy Hollow on for an 8-year-old. My son loved it.
It was
No,
only,
it's funny,
it was
but
only
19.
15 as well, wasn't it? It wasn't an
Yeah.
18.
yeah, it's only 15.
Jamie Y has come in saying Randall Flagg from Stephen King's Dark Tower Connected Universe. The Stand was
Yeah.
my entry into King/Bachman, with both the 1994 miniseries and the uncut behemoth of a novel. And it's something for him to be a villain in so many of King's works, either as Flagg or another of his identities.
Read the graphic novel. Really good.
Just read the novels, like he's in the Dark Tower and stuff like that. It's, The Stand, yeah. Ooh. I'm the walking dude. Yes.
Those outer world people from the Space Castle Pod. No, that didn't work. But Space Castle Pod is written in saying Michael Myers is just straight up relentless evil, and despite being devoid of emotion, is a straight up artiste when it comes to murders. The original Halloween is gleeful in how Michael Myers takes out his victims, and the movie will never stop being fun. Doesn't it kill like 2 people in the first Halloween film?
3, I
2 or
think.
3, yeah. It doesn't kill many people. It's more the suspense and the build-up and the
Yeah.
shape being in the backdrop. There's actually, like, if you watch that film, Michael
He's always in the background, isn't he?
there's like bits. There's literally a bit where there's 2 characters talking. He drives past in the car, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't notice if you weren't really paying attention. He's just
Right.
there,
Yeah.
like kind of wandering around, and
It's a good film. The first one's really good.
Great.
And,
The fact that you're
Is
being
the second
chased
one-
by
second
William
one's nothing to
Shatner
do
the whole
with it.
time.
yeah, it's William Shatner. But the new Halloween's apparently shit, isn't it?
Yeah, I read a plot synopsis of the Halloween Ends
I
today.
think I
and
might have to
fucking-
watch it just to see
I
how bad it
laughed.
is.
I
Take one for the team.
You know me.
I like Jamie Lee
you know me,
Curtis
I'll take
anyway.
one for the team.
Uh,
you don't have to.
Steve Chambers has
We all
said.
took one last week.
Steve Chambers. Fuck's sake, man. Let me carry on. Steve Chambers has said Pennywise, the dancing clown from Stephen King's It, terrifying when I first read the book, and as a kid, it's just as horrific as in the recent movies. The first antagonist that really damaged my psyche.
I'm with you.
I'll
I'm with you.
float.
John Shepard has said Julia Cotton from Hellraiser. In a film where
Yes,
literal demons,
Julia.
to some, turn up, she is romanced by a hedonistic lover that is literally rebuilding themselves. Julia is such a complicated and interesting monster. The original plot for Hellraiser 3 was to have her become the Queen of Hell, but Claire Higgins opted to become a stage actress instead. I would have loved to have seen where that story went.
Instead we
Rather
got
than 3.
compact disc.
Yeah, CD.
See,
What a
I
Cenobite.
realised when he wrote this in that I got a name wrong last week because I said it was
Yeah,
Helen.
and I said, yeah, that's the name. We both got it wrong, mate.
Helen
It's Julia.
is from Candyman.
Yeah, Julia. She's brilliant. Like the stuff with the mattress and her obsession with Frank and stuff. She's a fantastic
evil
villain.
as fuck.
Yeah, and when she seduces the Doctor in the second one, she's great.
The Monorants at the Movies podcast have said the hospital itself in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Yeah.
Yes, for it is a font of evil.
Yes.
Fucking Dark Place. I love that. Can't wait for the book to come out. Keeps getting delayed on Amazon.
Reboot it. I want him to reboot it.
Last up, we have Xenos. We're going back to video games here. He said, the two standout mentions for me, and yes, I do qualify these as horror villains, are both from the Metroid series. It's the SAX from Metroid Fusion and the Emmy from Metroid Dread. A relentless hunter in the vein of the Terminator, effectively wearing Samus's own face as it hunts her with the strongest weapons in what used to be her own arsenal, and a series of 9 vulnerable sentry robots that will stop at nothing to chase you down and ram a 4-foot needle through your heart and take a DNA sample if they ever become aware that you exist. For the SAX, nothing you've got access to will phase it for more than a few seconds until you finally get a boss fight against it at your full power at the end of the game. And it's the main reason I never completed Metroid Fusion, because that boss fight is hard as fucking nails. And for the Emmy, your only means of damaging them is effectively a nuclear-powered upgrade to your arm cannon, which still can't damage them until you actively melt their faceplate off to expose their big glowing red eye as a weak point. Samus is characterized as the Hunter. The space pirates refer to her as it in every data log they've got about her, and these are the 2 entities in the franchise that are dangerous enough to make her the Hunted instead. They will find you, and they will only stop chasing you to try and rip you to pieces when you can get out of their range. Also, they're faster than you, and several of them can shoot through walls. I mean, I haven't played through Metroid Fusion, but I know what he means about the SAX, but the Emmy had moments where they could be pretty creepy.
Not a horror game, but he's right.
Yeah, they're very much a horrific enemy. Especially in terms of the fact that, you're walking, you're exploring a place in what's outwardly a stealth section, and then one spots you, and it's like when you get spotted in Metal Gear Solid, like the high-paced music starts up, and these things are on you in seconds. Like, you have to be very fast, and they're instant kills when they catch you. So they can be quite scary. So I'd go for them.
Right, is that everything?
Yeah, that's everything.
Brilliant. Well, thank you everyone for writing in. And we're going to wrap this up. Just before we go, just remember, sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/modernescapism. Help us divide and conquer the podcasting world, as my excellent host tells us every week.
Mm-hmm.
And
you haven't called him sexy yet, though. I call him sexy.
Well, you want me to call you sexy?
No, the sexy patrons, I call them.
They are sexy patrons. If you want to, if you want to get sexier, cost you a minimum of £1 a month. That's it. £1 a month will make you sexy.
It will.
And so, but if you aren't a patron, this is it. This is the end for you. We're going to head into the green room for the extended.
What we're doing
edition.
next week?
What we're doing next week? That isn't good. Well, what we're doing next week involves the patrons as well, because they get to choose. So right now we have no topic. You will get to choose. We'll put that up on the Patreon website, and you can vote for what we choose next week. So look out for what that is in the feedback on Twitter. But for now,
choose wisely.
You know they won't choose wisely.
No, you
have to give them good topics, otherwise they'll choose the shittest one, as evidence with 100 Things Pod. Because every time he puts a shit film on, everyone votes for it. Right, we are ending it now, so thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next week. For all you sexy patrons, we'll meet you in the green room. Goodbye. Bye.
Hang on. Will you two shut up? Fuck's sake!
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Just trying to help.